Before we proceed with the program, permit me to introduce myself. I'm Professor Benson. I am with the Department of Police Practice in the School of Criminal Justice in the College of Law at Unisa. I will be your program facilitator today. As we delve into the issue of insurance and the need for insurance, you will all know that life happens. So as a result of that, there's going to be a slight change to the program. Instead of having the Q&A right at the end, we will be doing the Q&A directly after each speaker. And I will be taking questions for each speaker. If we cannot take your questions in those 10 minutes, you are more than welcome to put your questions in the chat box. Please just mention who your question is for, and we will make sure that each speaker gets those questions and are able to respond to your questions. The same to the live streaming on the YouTube channel. I would now like to invite to the floor to do the opening and welcoming the Director of the School of Criminal Justice, Dr. Lebogang Morodi. Thank you, Dr. Morodi. The floor is yours.
A very tranquil morning to all of you. How is the morning? With that low voice, I don't know. I know that the morning is not well, but very good morning. Thank you, Program Facilitator, Mediator, and Director, Professor Benson, for the opportunity that has been afforded to the College of Law, its deanship and its management, and also to say the invitation has been extended by Unisa Lifelong Learning Center, led by Ntateke Kana, in conjunction with the Department of Police Practice under the stewardship and leadership of Professor Mabunda. The invitation is well received and well accepted. The invitation, whose orientation on a webinar in insurance crimes investigation, a short learning program that is being developed in the space of police practice by Professor Johannes van Graan and the team. We are highly appreciative of the initiative that you have demonstrated in the particular space. The Law Deanship, under the leadership of Professor Mfariseni Buteni Namakonde and Professor Olaotsekole, is saying we are indeed indebted also to the initiative that you have brought to the fore as part of what you call the contribution to the third income stream for the university, and more importantly for the college. The phenomenal insurance crimes, as well as it is coupled also with its investigation. It's an occurrence that we usually speak of. It's an occurrence that we can say it has its own chronicle or its own historical accounts. It's not commencing today, but it's a question of saying, attention is now being attended to or being afforded to this particular phenomenon. We have seen quite a number of cases now being converted into movies or motion pictures. If I speak of, I know in your mind you are thinking of Rosemary. You are also thinking of what you call Dr. Zabadia, a clinical psychiatrist who served time in what you call Cullinan, Zonal Vater, and Baviansburg. We also have recently a case whereby a policewoman was arrested by fellow officers. What an embarrassment. In Senwabarana, in Limpopo. Then you also have what you call the one case also in Mahikeng also of a woman known by Sokhomutsi Setswanso also. She was also arrested here in Pretoria. Then she's standing trial in Mahikeng. We appreciate the contribution that you are giving to the country, Sergeant Mabunda. Can you give him a round of applause? How far is too far to go with particular phenomena? How much do we know about the nature and extent of this? What is the profile of insurance fraudsters? What is the modus operandi? With the evolving dynamics of organized or criminal syndicates, we are seeing this particular phenomena assuming a role that is quite amoebic, that is, it doesn't have what you call a fixed position. It camouflages, it's like a chameleon. How many cases of lawyers, medical doctors who have been struck off the road with this particular program? What is the level of skill that is required to investigate such complex phenomena? Can this be categorized as criminality orchestrated or organized in a group context involving professionals and enablers? All too often in the past, criminal investigators have been very, very much reluctant to broaden their scope in this particular space of investigation, particularly when you look in terms of venturing into financial areas. Therefore, what they sacrifice what you call potential evidentiary value that could have been what you call developing something that could have been properly explored. But this very same level of reluctance also must be understood within the context of saying, among criminal investigators, financial skills was lacking. These are some of the shortcomings that they indicated in the particular space. Then we are also indicating that there are books that have been written, program director. One of the books is that of, it's a handbook actually, by Richard Nelson. I think it's quite old. It's something that was written in 1972, where the focus was only on 6 techniques of investigation. Now the handbook added this particular set. But as experts, practitioners, we know in terms of the developments from 1972 to 2024, what has evolved. The 7 basic investigative technique, it's analyzing financial transactions in the investigation of what you call organized crime and what you call white collar crime. I'm not speaking about blue collar crime, but it's something that we need to venture into. What type of a society or community or people or country are we? When greed has eloped to a level of avarice, what are the modus operandi employed by these people? I'm not going to respond to that, but our presenters will assist us. In the College of Law, we are moving with times. Topical and contemporary issues, the catalytic niche areas are affording us that particular opportunity to say, what are the groundbreaking explorations that academics as well as the industry can come up with? We are looking in that particular space whereby we need to start to say, how are we addressing the socio-economic problems of this particular country? What are the costs of insurance that false claims? How much is taken from the country? What are the risks associated with it? Program director, we are assembling in this particular session also with practitioners, specialists. Then a plea or a call to them is that partner with us, work with us in addressing these issues. There are short training programs in a non-formal state, but we are also saying the possibility of moving also and extending that particular arm, also saying, can we formalize our qualification? Be in a formal program, it can be in bachelor's, so we have to look at that. But I must also say the space at which we are moving, capacity is another challenge. We need to look at that. And also, I want also to say to the colleagues or parties or friends who are outside the University of South Africa with rare set of skills that will be of help to the College of Law, in the School of Criminal Justice, the Department of Police Practice. We are in the state of readiness to say, come and engage with us so that we will be able also to take this particular country to at another level. I also want to appreciate the availability under the demanding circumstances of colleagues and people to ensure that they become part of this particular assembly. You are the pillars upon which the giants stand on. You have a DNA that says you are at the nucleus of this particular university. You will never look back unless you are planning to go that way, but we are not in the particular space. Every skill that you acquire doubles your odds of success. Then we must be also saying, how are we maximizing our human capital and resources, striving to shape what we call the future that we envisage. Unisa on its own is premised also on what you call the APP, Annual Performance Plan, that is also moving along with what you call Compact with Cancer. We've got areas of engaged scholarship, where the academics go to different communities to conduct research. But we need also to say the very same empirical field work that its outcomes are of empirical nature. We need to infuse them in our study material so that our materials are becoming more relevant to our space. Thank you, Program Director, for warning. And also, what we are also looking also is that our purpose, our mandate, being that of striving towards an African College of Law in an august university, shaping futures that are in the service of humanity, is driving us to this particular assembly. Program Director, let me thank the leadership of Professor Mabunda in ensuring that the department is becoming more relevant, more appropriate, and it's solution-driven. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome all of you, those that are in the space of the virtual space, to say your contributions, your inputs, your commentaries are most welcome. We are busy building something that the country that will be proud of. We know what the Zondo Commission has dictated. Then there is quite a lot that also needs to be done in that particular space. But when you look in terms of the skills that investigators in these particular types of crimes, it's not only an ordinary type of skill that one will also dedicate, but it's a rare special skill that requires also to be given support in its all form. Program Director and the colleagues, the webinar is officially open. You are most welcome. The dogs have been chained. Don't worry, you won't be beaten. Thank you very much.
so much, Dr. Marodi, for that very thoughtful, thought-provoking, and insightful opening and welcome. I'm sure everybody online is feeling very welcome, and I'm sure everybody in the venue is now settled, and we are ready to start with the formal program of the day. I want to invite the stand-in representative for UCL, Mr. Mafenu, to come to the front and just chat with us about the program and the UCL. He will be joined by his colleague, whose name has just evaded me. My apologies. Tulofelo. I'm sorry. He will be joined by his colleague, and they will just briefly introduce the program and the UCL. Thank you.
Right. Colleagues, good morning, and good morning to everybody online. We really appreciate you this morning for having taken your time to actually be part of us on this very auspicious occasion. Right, as they introduced me already, my name is Mafenu Pora, and I happen to be on the marketing side of the business for my sins. And yes, we do have a new course, and this whole event is happening against the background of that. I'm not sure if, would that be fine, speaking with too much at the same time? Yeah, we have a new program that is launching for 2025, and we urge in the industry to actually look into that and actually register for that course, that short course. It's a course in insurance crimes investigations. And today we have with us the industry experts. The four of our speakers that are going to be speaking today are the players in the industry from various organizations, big ones. You surely want to meet them because these are brand names in their own right. But more for that from our program director. In a nutshell, everybody, the Center for Lifelong Learning, and you'll see behind me is our logos and colors and everything else, is a unit within the university, and it is charged with the whole mandate of making the offering of the short courses right across the 7 colleges of the university. The College of Law, and that's why we are here today, because this short course comes from the College of Law, and other colleges like your Economic and Management Sciences, your Science, Engineering and Technology, your College of Human Sciences, and so forth, right? So we represent the short courses from all those various colleges. And for this particular course today, should you have any need to inquire more about it, please feel free to contact us via email on UCL, that is U for umbrella, C for cat, L for Lima, at unisa.ac.za. That is via email. Or else go to the university website, which is unisa.ac.za/UCL. And you'll find all the details of this short course on there. And Program Director, I think that's all that I needed to say this morning. And over to you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mafenu, our colleague from the UCL, and the beautiful lady that didn't decide to join him. Colleagues, thank you very much. It is long time overdue. Insurance crime has been escalating exponentially over the past 5-10 years. I'm reminded of that advert on TV, that Jacob's advert, where the gentleman and the lady say goodnight, and she asks him, do you want to come up for coffee? And he says to her, what type of coffee? And she says, does it matter? And yes, it matters. So when you lie to the assessor or you lie on your insurance claim, does it matter? Yes, it matters. It matters. Don't take my word for it. I'm just a doctor. I'm going to invite the industry experts to come and share their insights. So our first speaker is Dr. Jerry Chetty, and while he is walking towards the stage, Dr. Chetty is the head of the Business Integrity Unit at Santam, where he oversees forensics, ethics, intelligence, and business integrity risk management. As a leading authority in the short-term industry, Dr. Chetty is widely recognized for his expertise in forensic investigation and ethics, specifically insurance crime. He has presented at numerous local and international conferences, contributing to the prevention, detection, investigation, and prosecution of insurance crimes. Dr. Chetty holds a PhD in criminology with his groundbreaking research that focused on tolerance for insurance crime. Remember what I said, does it matter? He serves also as the chairperson for the Institute for Commercial Forensic Practitioners and is an admitted attorney of the High Court. Dr. Chetty, it is our sincere honor to be hosting you this morning. Thank you.
Program Director, thank you very much for the opportunity. Management at Unisa, colleagues, VIP guests online, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and talk about insurance crime trends. The keynote speaker said a lot about education and about the rampage of insurance crime in the industry. So today I'm going to speak on behalf of the short-term insurance industry, and it's specifically related to, let's say, your household and vehicle insurance. But my topic focuses on a very interesting concept around the interconnectedness of insurance crime in the industry. So let me just start by talking about the insurance industry. The insurance industry, if you haven't thought about it, other than having insurance, the insurance industry is an industry that connects successful industries throughout the world. So it forms the pillar of a successful economy. And as a result, it is linked to various different industries, be it banking, be it retail, and so forth. So because of that interconnectedness, the insurance crime cannot just be merely looked at a false claim submitted by a policy or an organization. We need to look beyond that. And I think the keynote alluded to that earlier when he spoke about looking at different ways in terms of investigating. Because And I'm going to cite a few examples around the interconnectedness, but I just want to maybe land it with the audience that insurance crime is not a sector on its own. It is connected to various other sectors, which means that crimes that affect other sectors have a direct impact on insurance industry. So, Program Director, I want to talk about this aspect around the interconnectivity and the impact it would have. So if we look at corruption, for example, at a vehicle testing station, somebody goes in and gets their license because they paid a bribe. They then go to a vehicle dealership and purchase a vehicle, because one of the requirements if you buy a vehicle is you must be licensed. And thereafter, another requirement is you need to have insurance, which means that you are then entering a market where you've got obtained a license through corruption, you're now insured, and should you have an accident, we then have to pay for that. So we are indirectly paying for a whole array of offenses that have taken place prior to you joining the insurance industry. So may I just use an example, Program Director, to talk about the tail of the excavator. So the insurance industry provides cover for various industries and for various individuals. So one of the industries that we insure is the building and construction industry. Now you'll notice that as you previously drove past highways, you'd see these yellow excavators parked on the side because there was no risk at that stage. So those building contractors parked those vehicles. They didn't count on the fact that there were daring criminals that that could potentially steal this large earth-moving vehicles. And that's what exactly happened in this example. Vehicle was parked, vehicle was stolen, the policyholder was there and then submitted a claim. Nothing wrong with the claim. Absolutely nothing wrong with the claim. The claim was legit. We settled the claim. Only about a few months later to realize that this vehicle was spotted on the outskirts of Polokwane. So, I mean, as any good insurer would do, you get all of the police and you go to recover this. But when we got to the point of recovering this, we realized that there was a field of excavators parked around. But these criminals were so strategic. So when we talk about strategy, criminals also have a strategy. So what they did is they had an anti-recovery strategy. So they parked this excavator in a way that it made it virtually impossible to recover. This being with the police there. So it took us 2 days to recover the vehicle. We subsequently found out that the people that were responsible for the theft are people that are involved in illegal mining activities, the so-called Zama. So this is an example around the interconnectedness. Now criminals are very resourceful, and like I said, they have a strategic mindset. They also started to eye out these vehicles to people who illegally got contracts or tenders where they didn't have the equipment. So they hide out these stolen vehicles as well, because it makes the identification of the vehicles very, very difficult. So this is just Program Director to illustrate my point around the interconnectivity. But I want to get to the crux of the matter, and I think the keynote also touched on the losses that the insurance industry is experiencing. So while I touch on the financial losses, I think the bottom aspect is very, very concerning. But if we look at the US and the UK, these are very mature markets, very, very mature markets from an insurance industry perspective. So one would expect that they will have robust processes to detect and prevent insurance crime. Now I ask myself, and I'm sure you'd wonder, that if we have these mature markets that are suffering these kinds of losses, what is it doing to the economy? And what happens to a country like South Africa, where our methods are not so sophisticated as yet? But let me move to the one that's more touching, and I think it touches to every one of us. And my colleagues that follow on from me would talk about and cite examples around murder for money, the use of money mules in terms of trying to conceal the funds that you gain through fraud. And then also the trauma that it causes in terms of this later state. So somebody has passed on, the beneficiaries are attempting to get these monies paid out so they can continue life. But it makes it very, very difficult when there's corruption at the master's office, and suddenly it has an impact on the insurance industry. It hampers the insurance industry's ability to settle these claims. And once again, Program Director, it illustrates a point around interconnectivity. We've also seen and heard of examples where the most vulnerable people are being exploited by these criminal syndicates. It doesn't only happen in other crimes, it happens more rapid in softer crimes like insurance. And I must just caution myself when I talk about softer crimes, I'm trying to just make the differentiation between things like murder and human trafficking. So Program Director, when we talk about insurance crime, I know I'm surrounded by academics here, so I just want to correct myself and put a caveat to that. When we talk about insurance crime is not a crime. It is not a crime that's defined in criminal law. We use it as a concept within the insurance industry to help us understand this. So because the criminal crime that's normally linked to this is crimes such as fraud, forgery, and money laundering. I just want to be very clear. But in terms of our experience, we find there's two instances of this in terms of where the fraud is committed. One is a false claim. The false claim is where the incident did not happen. The incident has been staged and somebody submits a claim for this. So you have a problem with your vehicle payments. You sell the vehicle off to some syndicate, and thereafter you submit a claim to the insurance industry. And the various examples of this, like staged burglaries and staged house breakings. The one that's more kind of prominent and prolific in the insurance industry is what we call an inflated claim. And that's where more research must be done. Keynote speaker, I heard you talk about this, and I think this is where collaboration around research is essential. This is where somebody suffers a loss, a genuine loss, but they use that opportunity to claim for more items. They just want to increase the quantum of the settlement. And this has a lot to do with societal acceptance of insurance crime. They think it's a soft crime, and therefore they go about perpetrating it. So these program directors are two of the most rampant types of offenses that you get. You'll see that they're most often linked to offenses such as fraud and money laundering, forgery, and in some cases perjury as well. So keynote, you'll find this very, very interesting. So at the insurance industry, we do a lot of kinds of research as well to understand this phenomena in order for us to put anti-fraud strategies. So we come across item number one, which is opportunistic. And item number one is linked to inflated claims. So this is where somebody suffers a loss again, you then use that incident, there's an alibi for that, you just inflate your claim. It's very opportunistic, there's not much planning done. So this is a very random act, but this is the one that really plagues the insurance industry. Item number three is organized crime. So this pertains and links to where people stage incidences. So this is where you would, there's much more planning taking place. You stage a burglary, you sell a vehicle, you take your vehicle across the border, and thereafter go to the police station, report a case. So there's a process, there's a thought process that takes it. But program director, I want to talk about item number two. So there's no research on this. So this is a just convenient example the team at Santam had come across, and where we call about community participative crime. So what we notice is we notice a trend where people share information intentionally or unintentionally in terms of how to perpetrate insurance crime. And this becomes a phenomenon there. We're starting to see an emergence of the trend. I'm sure in a few years' time, people do research on this, and they'll support the aspect I'm discussing about today. So unintentionally, I stand and I have a discussion with a neighbor and tell him about how fantastic service I get from insurer A and how easy it was. The person that listens to this then either shares the information and thinks, wow, this is a great idea. I'm also insured and I've never claimed before. And it's easy. And this is how they go about this. How did we detect this? We detect this through using data and analysis. And I heard the keynote speak about analysis. Because we start to pick up these patterns and trends that people within a certain street, a certain suburb, a certain block of flats submit exactly the same type of claims. And in some instances, we found them using the same kind of documentation. So I like to just highlight that this phenomena is going to become a reality, program director. So where are the people that perpetrate? Who are the perpetrators of insurance crime? So we get the policyholders, and the most kinds of common fraud types we get it inflated claims or false claims. We also find out that people never had a cover for a specific item. They then take out insurance and then submit a claim and backdate the loss. And also an insurance industry, I think that this is very, very relevant as well in terms of how fraud is hampering insurers' ability to provide efficient service. Because one of the things that insurers have in their array is that if somebody has suffered a loss for a spectacle, we don't want them to go through a whole rigmarole of submitting documents. We want to settle that as quick as possible. But because of fraud that's associated, insurers are forced to implement processes. So I think the challenge insurers sit with is in terms of getting that fine line between submitting or assessing a claim as quick as possible to ensure it gets paid as quick as possible. Intermediaries, program director is about brokers. So these are people that will shop for consumers in terms of getting insurance, and there we find out backdating of cover, false claims, and false policy inception are some of the examples that I touch on. Program director, insurance, within the insurance industry, we also have employees that's committing fraud, and some of the common trends we see is conflicts of interest, abuse of resources, and false claims. From the suppliers, no insurer owns a panel shop, or owns a tow truck, or owns a kind of jewelry store. They are dependent. They have about the largest kind of array of service providers. So, and these service providers sometimes manipulate the processes, and we find a lot in terms of inflated repair costs, or poor warranty, poor workmanship. Sorry, and then the last category is very, very interesting for me. It's somebody that has no relationship to the insurance industry. So these are external parties, and we see a lot of the kinds of syndicates that either perpetrate cybercrime attacks, in terms of ransomware. And why is the insurance industry so prone to ransomware attacks is because the insurance industry doesn't sell products. The only thing they have is they have a database of policyholders. And if that policyholder database gets hacked, it makes it very difficult for the insurer to respond. This is why the insurance industry takes a lot of kinds of preventative measures to prevent cybercrime. We've all heard of business email compromise. Insurance industry is also a perfect example of that because the industry regularly pays out claims. So there's always a kind of transaction, and the transaction will either involve you submitting documents or receiving a payment. And in most of the cases, while the insurance industry will have good security protocols, it doesn't necessarily mean that our policyholders or suppliers or external assessors will have good security protocols. So that's where we find the vulnerability. So Program Director, just by going through these 5 categories of perpetrators, you can understand that investigating insurance crime, given the interconnectedness, is not as easy as one would make it out to be. Right? And I just thought, out of interest, just to, I think, illustrate my point, I wanted to just talk about 2 investigations. And specifically, I want you to just look at the numbers. Now, the keynote speaker spoke about us changing our investigation methodology. And maybe I want to touch on that as we go through this. You'll notice that you investigate by numbers. You investigate by data. And this is just an example around, you have 48 policyholders, you look at 310 claims. Now, one of the things that the insurance industry's plague requires a policyholder is to submit documents to support your claim. So this is the analyzing 310 claims with a whole host of documents. Now you can think as academics in terms of providing training to police or law enforcement what it takes to analyze these documents. And I'm sure somebody would say, but why aren't you using AI? Yeah, I think there's a place for AI. The limitation of AI is that it doesn't have the ability to read certain documents and pick up certain trends. So we're exploring that, and we're trying to train that technology to unpack that. But we're still there, so we're not totally discounting it. So you look at, I think some of the times I wonder in terms of TV sets and electronic, I think we pay out more claims than Samsung supplied TVs to South Africa, right? So that's how much that is. And then program director also maybe just want to talk about the other one. This is about a collusion match. So there are 31 people of interest that we investigated. Right? There were 3 main role players, 378 claims. Now, and I want somebody, even for those guests online, to just imagine analyzing this and working through these documents. All right, 74 bank accounts. On the positive note, because of good investigation skills and let's say the ability to follow up on this, we finally, after 10 years, convicted all 3 of those investigators. So they collectively got 26 years. So I think that's something. But it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to investigate this. Then, program director, I'm very happy to announce that I heard you speak about what kind of people commit insurance crime. So, and that's a question that we've been asking ourselves for my company. So I want to just put a caveat as well. This is not an industry-wide profile. It's something that we put together from cases of actual fraud. Very importantly is the first aspect is that fraudsters, insurance crime fraudsters, follow criminal patterns. So if you think you in academia do research, criminals also do research. Because they do that research in order to say, where are those high-risk areas of, let's say, smash and grab incidences, where are those robberies that take place, where are those hijackings that take place, and that's exactly where they stage the false claim when they want to do that. They're quick to adapt, so whenever the insurance industry picks up a trend, we are quickly to try to put controls in place, and they will quickly adjust to that. So we started to see, for example, all risk items were at a stage being claimed for a lot, and we then put a kind of control measure in place. They then went to power surge. And now when you talk about alibi, we had a whole lot of load shedding, right? And the load shedding created the perfect alibi or the perfect storm for people to submit fraudulent claims. Okay? So they're able to adapt. They are determined. So if they fail once, they'll try again. They'll go to another insurer till they master what they want to do. They learn from each other. They understand the insurance processes very well. And this is always a very unique feature. We in the industry, and I guess in any kind of organization, you don't want to follow those SOPs because you don't realize the value of them. But fraudsters do. So they know exactly the pack of documents that you need in order to settle the claim. And they'll give you a perfect pack. Because you don't have to go back and ask, because you've got a whole lot of questions. So they do that, they exploit, and they're very good at applying pressure in terms of escalating it. So keynote, I just wanted to say, so these are some of the things, and I think it's worth exploring for future research. So when you spoke about investigation methodology, right, we seem to have a set methodology in place. You get an allegation, you scope the allegation, you get out to do the investigation. I'm sure the captain will agree with this. In the insurance industry, it's a totally different ballgame. When you get an allegation, you first need to do analysis. You need to do proper data analysis. So the mindset of getting an investigation and going out, if you come into the insurance industry, you're going to find yourself wanting. You need to have an analytical skill. And I think that is the kind of key mindset or characteristic an future investigator would need. In terms of first getting something, not running out of field, you first need to do that investigation. And I talk from experience. If we look at how our investigators do that, that's exactly how they go about doing that. Because you need to analyze it. And the analysis bears fruit in terms of understanding the documentation. And that's why I have this documentation, because this is something typically a policy would need to submit from supporting the claim. They'd need a damage report. So especially for electronic items, you need a damage report. And the damage report needs to consist of certain information, make, model, and the cause of the damage to make sure that it falls within that insurance peril or it's covered. So the future investigator would need to have this analytical skill before it's not about just understanding investigation methodology. You need to understand this. An analysis, and to my colleagues on the call, or to the esteemed guests on call on the virtual platform, analysis is a painstaking process. You know, it takes away the glory of going out interviewing people and saying, you know, I've arrested this person, I've exposed this kind of fraud. No, before that you need to have the patience, the persistence to analyze that paperwork. And I think that's where we see this kind of limitation, because we are a lot of times influenced by TV. So the television doesn't tell you this part of analysis. So I want to be bold to stand here today and tell you that if you want to pursue an investigation field or career, then you need to understand it's going to contain this in-depth analysis. And you need to prepare yourself, not go into a forensic setup and suddenly realize, but wait a minute, it's not about going out and getting affidavits and so forth. You need to do that work. And a lot of the evidence that we find is in the paper. So what they say, the details in the devil's in the detail. No, it doesn't apply in insurance industry. The details in the paperwork. The devil's in the paperwork. Not. So I want to just prepare for this. So if you look at these documents, I mean, you see there's nothing wrong with it. So anybody that's from the insurance industry, we welcome these kinds of documents. We will phone the supplier and confirm this document to say, have you given this document to Jerry? It's a damage report. The damage reports, normally valuation certificates and so forth, form the basis of any crime. All right? Only to find out that this is the issue of the document. Right? And it takes just a simple Google search. So I just want to illustrate this, that, you know, sometimes investigations of this sort, this sometimes also requires for investigators to use open source information that's out there and so forth. But I think everything in terms of insurance crime investigation centered around analysis of documentation and so forth. So in closing, Program Director, I think I touched on documents. So in terms of investigation, the investigations are complex. You have a multitude of role plays in the insurance industry, and I was speaking to Professor Benson earlier this morning to say that lying on an insurance claim does not necessarily mean it's fraud. And please let me put a caveat, doesn't necessarily mean it's fraud, because there needs to be an investigation process. But a key concept to insurance contracts is this concept around materiality. So there must be this, and I think in law we talk about intention and so forth, but there must be a link between the lies and the decision for an insurer to play. And given the fact that we are in the private sector, we have limitation when it comes to investigating insurance crime. And I think one of the things, Program Director, that I want to talk about is that there's not a huge appetite to investigate insurance crime, especially, and I talk from a short-term perspective. So somebody submits a false claim for a vehicle, there's no appetite for this. We're starting to see after the Rosemary incident, suddenly everybody's talking about insurance crime. It has always been there, but the fact that it's there, and I think these cases highlight the fact that insurance crime is not a victimless crime. It is a traumatic crime, and I think we need to be. So I'm hoping that there would be more kind of appetite from law enforcement to say we need to investigate these matters. We need to look at it, that these are not necessary victimless crime or just a crime. It's not a crime, it's a contractual issue. It's not, it's a crime, right? So I think there's kind of limitations there in terms of that. Document analysis, and I cannot stress but to say that document analysis and the ability to analyze is a key ingredient if you want to investigate insurance crime cases. And I think understanding the insurance terminology processes and the insurance ecosystem. It is an ecosystem. Like I say, we don't have, the insurance industry doesn't have panel shops and jewelry stores. We are dependent on a whole host of ecosystems. And Chairperson, on that note, let me just say thank you for the opportunity. Colleagues online, thank you for listening. And management from Unisa, thank you for allowing us to chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chetty. Indeed, an ecosystem. Everything is interconnected. Nothing happens in isolation. Always, it takes two to tango. And this is not a victimless crime. We are now going to open the floor for questions. If you have a question online, Johan, will you be able to see the hands? I'm going to ask that if you have a question, just raise your hand. The ICT people will then give you the capability to ask a question. Okay, we have 3 questions, so we will take the first 3 questions and then we will proceed. So our first question, and there it's disappeared. Can I just have that back again, please, if possible? Okay, so our first question is Bekinkosi, no, I lie, Lusanda, followed by Sipu, followed by Professor Mabunda, in that order. You can unmute yourself and then pose your question. Lusanda, are you able to unmute yourself? While Lusanda is trying to unmute himself, Sipu, are you able to unmute yourself? Have they been given sharing rights? They don't have sharing rights. Okay. Okay. If you are unable to talk, please can we ask that you just type your question in the chat, then we will take it via the chat, if that's possible. If we could just switch to the chat, please. Yeah, it's easier on the chat to check the questions. Johan, can we see any questions on the chat? Okay, all right. Does Santam make data available, pause there please, for master's research? I've been looking to do research on this since 2017. Oh. So that was the first question. All the way up, please, all the way up. A bit more, bit more, bit more. Okay. Okay, go down, scroll down. Scroll down. Our apologies. Scroll down. ICT makes it easy for us. All right, scroll down. Okay, all right. Lusanda, are you able to unmute? Or Sipu, are you able to unmute? Sipu, we've asked.
Yes, yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. You may talk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to ask Dr. Chetty, the presentation that you're presenting seems to be an interesting one. So would you be sharing the slides with us?
Yeah, we'll. Happy to share.
Okay, thank you very much. That would be all.
Thank you so much. Jackie, are you able to unmute?
Yes, I wanted to ask something with regard to, especially with the short-term insurance fraud lines. I've realized that with regard to the fraud that is happening, especially when you find that your car is damaged, and then they overstate the cost, and then you notify the insurance that this is not fixed, was not part of what it was. It's not damaged, but when you look at the invoice, it was invoiced that it's meant to show that this particular thing was fixed, but you know that it was not fixed. You even identify that this area and this area were not damaged. It has not been fixed, but you can see on the invoice that the panel beater claimed for it. You inform the insurance company, and they don't do anything about it. And I've experienced it about 3 times. So, what is the way forward? What could be done in order to curb that? Because we are assisting, but the industry itself, it appears that it's not even willing to it's not willing to at least investigate those kind of fraudulent claims. Thanks. That's my question.
Yeah, I thank you for the question, and thank you for pointing that out. So I think from your side, I think you did the right thing. I just don't from the insurer side why they don't have an appetite to do that, because in my mind, what you describe and what I heard you describe and summarize, that's fraud. So somebody's repairing something and invoicing Santam or whatever insurer it is, that they replace the item, there's obviously an inflation, and that in my mind is a key ingredient around misrepresentation, and it should have been investigated. So I just don't know why your insurer is not doing that. But I would really suggest that if it's not been, then escalate that to the powers above whoever you're reporting it to. And sorry, and maybe if I may, and I know Yuho is online, there's an Insurance Crime Bureau hotline as well. You can use that platform to also report it and let the Insurance Crime Bureau escalate that on your behalf.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks so much, Dr. Chetty. Our next question is from Mr. Kakana. Mr. Kakana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'm audible.
You audible?
Am I audible, Madam Chair?
You are, yes?
Program Director? Okay. No, thank you very much. Mine is not a question per se to the presenters, but just to give context in terms of the SLP itself, the short course that we are marketing and promoting and launching today, that the public is invited to really enroll for this program. When you look at the admission requirement, that they will only require grade 12 or at least an equivalent experience wherein we can follow the RPL process if one does have, experience in the insurance industry, that we can admit students in this SLP. Then the SLP is available in January, and meaning that the SLP can be in 2 semesters to ensure that we are able to enroll as much students as possible. And I must say, ladies and gentlemen, that the developer of this SLP went at length, to do a comparative study in terms of local and international institutions to look at which institutions are offering this insurance short-term program. And indeed, this is a unique program that will benefit the industry to make sure that we have this crime that is currently taking place. The cost is not that expensive. It's affordable, as you know, that in terms of our benefits as the University of South Africa, we've got a social mandate to ensure that we accommodate societies. So the cost is only costing 12,000, and for the 3 modules that want to study. At this point in time, I'd like to thank the developer of this SLP and to also indicate that as the Unisa Center for Lifelong Learning, we are available to assist the students. The program might not be available online because it's still a new program. However, as soon as we've completed the roadmap to 2025, this SLP will be included. But however, I've seen on the chart that Mr. Mabunda has shared regarding this SLP. Thank you very much, Chair.
Mr. Kokona, thank you very much, and
Thank you.
Thank you very much for highlighting again where the students can access the paperwork and, yes, the admission requirements. We have another hand from Tepu Buchopa. You may unmute yourself and pose your question.
Yes, am I audible?
You are.
Program Director?
You are audible.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chetty, Vincent here. Doctor, I just want to find out, since there have been a background of good investigation that have been conducted by various insurance institutions, including you and your team as well. Do we have any progress in terms of securing convictions and so on, as to what is maybe on my side, what I see is the reopening of cases and closing? Does our court have started to prosecute, especially on the short-term side? Because on the long term, I see with the recent live claims whereby they have arrested several people, but on the short-term side, do we have any progress? Are we progressing? And the second question is that, do you think our criminal justice system, or do we need to have a specialized unit that will maybe specialize in investigating or assisting in processing these fraudulent insurance claims, so that we can secure prosecution and convictions? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I think let me answer the last question first. I think Captain Mabunda is now in charge of a team that's going to that is tasked and mandated to investigate insurance-related matters, and this specifically relates to murder for money types of cases. The challenge we sit is in terms of short-term space, and I think I just alluded earlier around the perception that these are victimless crimes, or it's crimes that are not crimes, but it's more a contractual breach. So there needs to be some kind of awareness, and I think the whole, let's say, prosecution ecosystem from investigator until prosecutor is, I think that's where there needs to be a lot of kind of awareness being taken place. But in recent times, I think in certain police stations, we're starting to see prosecutions come up. In the last month or two, I've seen 3 cases that 2 of them hit the media, where there's an appetite to prosecute these matters. I cannot say for all the police stations, but as the insurance industry, we're starting now to petition or lobby law enforcement in terms of getting insurance crime declared a priority crime. We think that this might change the attitude from the law enforcement ecosystem in terms of saying there is a problem, we need to deal with it. Thanks for the question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chetty. We're going to pause with that a session quickly. We have 3 questions off the chat that Professor van Graan is going to read, and then Dr. Chetty will answer them as well.
Thank you, Program Director. Dr. Chetty, the first question is, how do you determine if the prices have been inflated? Do you benchmark the prices with other providers? Do you want to answer the question before I ask the next question?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the price difference and somebody that, let's say, increases the price, because normally with price there's always a kind of what I think my item costs versus what an insurance. So there is a kind of benchmarking, but that the difference in price, and I think that the approach we've taken is that we understand and acknowledge that people will, let's say, differ around the price of a specific item, and different retailers act on the same basis. I think where we find more kind of tangible evidence to indicate fraud, especially when it comes to inflated, is where people add additional items, and these are stuff that we can verify and determine whether it's either stolen, they did not own, or it was never stolen. So I think the price is, when it comes to the difference in price, there's a latitude to discuss that. It doesn't necessarily amount to fraud. We do find in instances where the person that submitted documents will forge the document or change the price. Then there's evidence of that.
Thank you, Dr. Chetty. The second question is there enough legislation to support such crimes?
I don't believe there's so. And while I'm happy to say I don't think there's so, I'm also not a fond advocate to say that everything needs to be legislated. I think there's several pieces of legislation, and I think the criminal law and criminal procedure offers sufficient kind of guidance in this. And one of the things that we use, just to comfort the person that posted that, is Section 34, which mandates us or creates that obligation to report anything over 100,000 rand. So that's a piece of legislation we really, really like.
Thank you. The last question, how do I go about reporting someone who makes a living from insurance killing fraud?
So there are several of the insurance industries have hotlines, so you can report it through the hotline. I think if you can just have a look at let's say the specific insurer's webpage, there is the Insurance Crime Bureau. If you can maybe just check on the Insurance Crime Bureau, they host a hotline on behalf of the industry, and that's where you can report it. And I also want to comfort the person that posed the question that these channels offer you to be anonymous when you report that information. And the insurers really take this information, welcome the information, and they will investigate it.
Dr. Chetty, thank you so much. We're going to take our last 3 questions. If I can just see the hands again. The last 3 questions. We literally have 3 minutes left. So we're going to try and run the last 3 questions, the last 3 hands through. Okay, the first speaker, Petrus, you may unmute yourself and pose your question, please.
Thank you, Program Director. My question is direct to Dr. Chetty. I hear you talking about only vehicles. what about house insurance? Do you ever come across claims that are not being paid? And what is the reason why the claims are not being paid?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think because of the limitation of time, I didn't want to talk, but yeah, you get lots of kinds of false claims that originate from buildings. So these originate in terms of where the policyholder would stage the incident and claim that there was a burglary, take the items out of the house, hide it at some warehouse, and then submit claims. So that we've come across incidents of that. We come across incidents where there's a break-in, a legitimate break-in, where they claim for items that they did not have, either clothing, television sets, and so forth. PlayStations is a common one, and there's a lot of kinds of electronic items that is a common item that they either inflate or create a false claim. And the other part of your question was about, yeah, so there is those claims from a burglary perspective. And I think the other kind of trend that people use is that they lie at policy inception state to say that they have sufficient burglar security measures, and at that stage they lie about having burglar bars and so forth, and when something happens they try to remediate that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chetty. Unfortunately, we have reached the end of the Q&A session with you, Dr. Chetty. Thank you so much. If there are further questions for Dr. Chetty, we're going to invite you to please pop them into the chat box. Just make sure that you write that the question is for Dr. Chetty. We will make sure that he gets all the questions and that he responds and gives you feedback. Dr. Chetty, thank you so much. And yes, please join the rest of the audience as we invite the next speaker. So our next speaker, I was so glad to see that we have another lady. I was feeling very dominated by all the testosterone in the room. So Helen has more than 20 years of experience in external audit, internal audit, risk management, forensic services, ethics and governance in the financial services industry. She's currently head of forensics at Sanlam Life, Savings and Fintech. She is a chartered accountant, certified fraud examiner, as well as a certified ethics officer, and recently completed a master's in corruption and governance at the University of Sussex. While working, she served on the board of directors of the South African Insurance Crime Bureau and the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, and is currently the lead of an industry expert working group researching estate-late fraud. Helen, the floor is yours.
Can we just my presentation? Thank you, Program Director. Thank you for the keynote speaker. Thank you to the management of Unisa. Thank you to everybody here online. Welcome. Thank you to Captain. I get passionate about this, so hopefully Program Director will keep me intact. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I think we've been talking about it, we're seeing and saying it's just another fraudulent claim. But I want to challenge you to say, is it really? So what no, this is the wrong presentation. Yeah, this is the wrong presentation. This is my wrong presentation. Let me just see. No, it's just that heading. Sorry. Okay, all right. No, it is fine. Sorry about that. It's not training of internal auditors. So the agenda for today is I want to just pause and just say why we should be worried. I think you as the keynote speaker has talked a lot about it, but just to give you my own personal experience of why we should be concerned about insurance industry and the fraud. We'll talk about the current trends in fraud and how the fraudsters are exploring financial services. So my colleague from the short-term insurance has talked a lot about the perpetrators. The perpetrators is fairly similar. There's we talk about peril in the insurance industry. So a peril means the event that you are insured against. So in the short-term industry, you are insured against a motor vehicle accident, house burglary, fire, all of those things. In the life industry, it's fairly similar, but the peril is death, dreaded disease, those type of things. So it's fairly similar in terms of that. I'm going to talk a little bit about case studies. The case studies are going to leave you quite feeling, what shall I say, demotivated. So I'm just putting it out there before I start. So I'm going to talk about some current and future solutions we are working on, and I honestly believe that there is some positive things happening in the public-private space around that. So just before I start, and I know we've got 30 minutes, I just want us to ponder a little bit on the question, why do we need insurance? And I just want to start with a personal story. So I started in the insurance industry in 2001. And to be honest, I was a recently qualified chartered accountant. This is not my dream job. I was thinking investments, banking, there was a lot more sexier industries out there. But the Lord had other plans. He placed me into the insurance industry. And there I started my career. And I must say, there was an event that changed my perspective on the insurance industry quite early in my career. There was a criminologist that was presenting at a conference, at a Santam conference, and he was talking about how insurance can shape or break the economy. And I never thought about it like that. But the example, I remember it like yesterday, that he gave is that through our underwriting practices, we actually shape the economy. And the example he gave is in terms of saying that for the price of insurance to be more affordable, you have to have security in your house. You have to have a linked alarm. You have to have security. The growth of that industry, we all know how big the security industry is today and the valuable role they play. And then he ended off in saying, maybe we should think about that insurance makes South Africa safer. And then I thought, working for an industry that makes South Africa safer, somewhere I can stay. 20 years plus, I have been more and more introduced into how important financial industry is in society. But just think about it. We make a lot about the banking industry, but we don't talk a lot about the insurance industry. If you want to buy a car, if you want to buy a house, you're going to get the finance from the bank, but you're not going to get the loan unless you've got insurance. So the insurance industry is there to protect society against risk and devastating financial loss. Can you just imagine the house burns off, there is no fraud, you don't set with the debt, it puts you back. So if you look at the life industry even more, we are now talking about moving away from saying we need to sell policies to talking we need to talk about the protection gap. We would see, if you look at society, how many people are insured. Because there is, one, a positive correlation between economic growth and insurance in development. They call it the S-curve, and you academics can go and look into that. But what we as Sanlam and most insurance companies are driving is financial inclusion. We want to make sure that all South Africans has access to financial banking, to financial products, because that makes society more resilient. So if you just think about the catastrophic events, pandemics, the research shows that areas of the population that has insurance is more resilient. So personally, for me, acts against the insurance industry is almost like acts against society a little bit. Because the more we steal, the more we take from the financial industry, the less opportunity we have to make this country resilient. If you don't believe me, there's a lot of work in this being done by the Geneva Association. I'm not going to go through that, but it has been researched and been and shown that on the life insurance side, we are definitely important in terms of social inequality, the S in ESG, and on the non-life insurance, promoting economic growth. let me just breathe because the passion is coming through here. So what we are seeing, that there's a company called RGA, that is an international insurer, and they are globally. They recently done a survey from about 86 experts across the world in terms of why they expect there's an increase in the coming years in fraudulent claims. I have put in the detail there, and I will show you the presentation so that you can see some of the other things. But basically, the top three that we are also experiencing is the economic factors. It is tough out there. It is really tough out there. People are poor, people are vulnerable, and I think Jerry has spoken about that. Just as we thought we're going to move forward, then comes digitalization, and just as we thought we can talk about fake documents, then there's deep fakes, we type of AI in terms of these things, and what we are seeing, there's a very, very interesting study that was being done by the Global Initiative Against Organized Crime, and they found that last year was the first time they included financial crimes into organized crime. So we're talking now about human trafficking, we're talking about drugs, guns, those markets. And for the first time, they included financial crimes as a market. And who was the top one worldwide? Financial crimes. So financial crimes is the future of organized crime because it's much, much, much easier. So we are definitely seeing that in our organization. And I think the other thing that there's a huge need for education around this in the South African market is something called the money mules. And there's a paper there that they've published by the FIC. I also put the link there so you can read it at your own leisure. But money mules is a huge problem. And it's an important trend to note because these guys are recruited. Let's just say we go back to people are vulnerable. Having a bank account that is FICA today is a currency. Me as a criminal want to rather use your bank account, your FICA, your identity to process my financial illegal gains than to use my bank account. Lots of people are recruited into this. They either know that. I've been seeing all of the scams. You can make a big buck by giving us unclaimed benefits. You can, these stories, we all see it in the newspapers, on Facebook, everywhere. People are recruited to become money mules. Once they're in the cycle, they can't get out. Because now, financial, being a money mule, using your bank account for illicit funds flow is a crime in South Africa. So, what I wanted to focus on in terms of fraud in the financial, it's involved. It's complex, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the various actors and the enablers. And I think that helps you to top of get your head around what we are facing. So in insurance, it is a very unique industry. It has a very unique value chain. So what I thought about sharing is the insurance value chain, and in those areas that that I've highlighted in red is the areas that's been targeted. So like I say, we think it's just a fraudulent claim. They already start at product level. Okay, then they move to sales. So they've got a very specific target when they think about products, the organized crime or the more sophisticated criminals. They would say, where are we going to get return on our investment and where is there a vulnerability? Unfortunately, these things is products that is placed for financial inclusion. It is there to make it easier, like through a scheme, through your organization, you're part of a financial scheme. We're talking about life cover, funeral cover, disease, two-pot, unclaimed benefits. They're looking for products where there's almost, like say, I wouldn't say less control, but there's a little bit of distance between the policyholder and the insurer. And many a times these are because of the drive that we have for financial inclusion. Then we talk about first party, second party, and third party. Okay, so first party is where the actual policyholder defrauds us. I think Jerry has spoken a lot about that. We also have it. Disability claims, any area that is like, you know, a little bit unclear about whether I'm really now disabled to do my job, that's where we get it, okay? We talk about second party. Second party we're also used to, is that's where your advisor is involved, okay? So the commission structures is quite different between short-term and long-term. Long-term pays quite a lot up front, while the short-term insurance is as and when. So there's lots of opportunity to mis-selling and getting that information. But we're used to this. Those ones we've tough of seen, and we know the tricks that they have. The one that we're really concerned about, and the one that really is what we call third party fraud. And this is where a third party is impersonating them to be the first party, and then they're defrauding us. Third party impersonation techniques is rife, okay? So they do that, the enablers is to do identity theft, a new thing called syndicated identity theft, and this is where generative AI comes in. They will look at what they can get on social media, they will just profile the most important people, they will look whatever they can, and they will use then artificial intelligence, normal intelligence, dark information on the dark web. The point is to get across the security questions. Okay. So the more they know about you, the easier it is to then be a third-party fraudster. We also do a lot of business email compromise, and my colleague has seen, but now they compromise the email when we communicate to the broker or to the client. So we think we are communicating to the executor, we're communicating to the right first party, but in the back end, they've compromised that email, and we're now sending all the supporting documents and claim documents to the fraudster. We're seeing a lot of forgery. Forgery is a big problem where, especially, and I'll talk a bit about estate late, is where they forge a power of attorney. So, you know, it's a standard practice. You give your power of attorney to somebody and they can act on your behalf. Now, those things are forged, and then obviously we then act on that power of attorney, and then the last thing that they're using, now that they see that maybe people get on sanction list or get things, then they just use a legal structure. They open a company, and then, you know, they move through those things. So during the sales process, we are defrauded, and the main objective is to steal personal information or get IP, and the ultimate goal is to take over the account. So the modus operandi is they'll phone in, they'll change the bank, the client contact details, they'll change the email address, then they're in. Once they can change that, they can change other information. Once they got that information, they'll start asking for benefit statements. They will start then acting and seeing what information they can get. And I'm also saying, people are not stealing money anymore. They're stealing data. It is as valuable to steal data as it is to steal money. So obviously at claim stage, they're still doing that. They want to get financial gain. But like I said, they're now seeing that it's quite easy for us to track the money. So as the money goes out of us, we luckily in life insurance mostly pay cash, you know. We don't have to service through a service provider like a panel beater. We still pay quite an amount of cash. We can follow that money quite easily. And what we are seeing is that they now use networks. That community-based fraud that Jerry is talking about, everybody type of get them is on the payroll, and they jump around and get lots of people in the network then to get the money out. And the enablers of this, again, is we have a falsified supporting documentation. I think Chetty has spoken about the value, and if there is somebody that wants to do a doctor's degree on how we can use technology to identify falsified information. The industry desperately needs that. There's a lot of people that throws around, you can use metadata, you can use that. We haven't found a solution for that, but it's many times an enabler. And with the technology evolving so much, it's very more difficult to spot a falsified document like it was in the past. I said they intercept the supporting documentation. We are seeing a trend that's not only digitally incepted, but also through runners. We all know how tedious it is to go to the masters. We all know how tedious it is sometimes to sit for your license. There's somebody that comes around and there's the opportunity. They say, wait, we'll be a runner for you, give us all your information, then we will go to the whatever department you have to go. We have seen in cases where those runners are extorted and the information is get through to them. So it's not just digital, like with business email compromise, we're definitely seeing runners as well. Unfortunately, we do have corrupt and unethical enablers. We as a financial industry to work with lawyers, estate agents, lots of people that stand in front and say that they've got a fiduciary duty to the client and they will act in the best interests of their client. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. And as part of that expert working group, we need to make sure that there's a professionalization of these enablers. They must be held accountable if they're part of this. Bribery and corruption is becoming socially accepted in South Africa. Small bribery to get anything printed at any area. Unfortunately, it just has a price. So we need to have a bottom-up process as well to make sure that socially acceptable thing, because that's where they get the supporting documentation. We talked about data leaks, and finally, the latest trend, which probably is the most concerning to me, is extortion. We are seeing that a lot of money mules is also in the organization, and their only role is to steal information. And it all starts with scams. We've seen scams, romance scams, recruitment scams, as one of the main root causes to recruit vulnerable people and then to use that to bring them into the criminal network. We're seeing they target multiple financial industries. We've now moved beyond PAPIA and the act in terms of anti-competition law, because obviously we have these laws and we have to legally, but we are seeing this quite a lot in the wider industry. So the keynote speaker spoke a little bit about The Walking Dead, the Rosemary hit the list. So sometimes when we're in our office, it feels like this is the real world for us. Impersonation and all of these things. So I just have 10 minutes left, but I'm going to just then focus on 2 case studies. This is an interesting white paper that SAS has published that you can also read, but it talks to what Chetty has talked about in terms of there's opportunistic crime, and then there's the more community-based ones, and then we really got the criminal enterprises, the ringleaders, the kingpins, we call that. I know it's quite topical, so please don't ask me any difficult question, but murder for money, for insurance money, is our reality. It is a serious crime. Let me just say that. It's not illegal to take out insurance, but to murder for that payout is horrendous. And we as an industry really are doing everything we can to stop this. Our industry, like I said there, is to help policyholders cope financially when there is a loss. And we therefore need to ensure our risk products are available to all of these South Africans. But they see this as a highly lucrative business. And we need to change that with the public sector to put that deterrence on it, to say this is not acceptable in South Africa. So it is being exploited. and it has a very negative impact on our communities. What we are seeing in terms of the MOs, like I said, let's just talk a little bit about the products they use, the distribution channels, the enablers, and the actors. Is they use funeral cover, they misuse the wider family cover, so there must be insurable interest. I can't just take out a policy on anybody in this room without proving that if that person dies, I'm going to suffer some economic loss. That's the principle. But in the South African context, that is not always blood related. That's the reality. So we also need to cater for that where it's not. And it's really a challenge for the insurance industry to identify insurable interest. They like the accidental death benefit and they claim close to policy inceptions. They do like retail mass, where insurers, distribution channel, and multiple cover on one person. There is always a hitman. The problem with this, the supporting document is real because the person did die. So there would be a body, there would be everything, and like I said, the corruption of the law officials to obtain this official documentation is something. The actors that we are experiencing, it is one or two perpetrators mostly, it's usually the people on it. We're starting to see the use of money mules, but it's not that prevalent yet. The one area that I'm probably even more concerned about is what we call estate-late fraud. And basically, this is when you've now died, unfortunately, and you now say, this is my last will and testament, okay? So you have appointed somebody to deal with your estate. We get a notice of death and saying, okay, we now need to claim, okay? So you can have a myriad of investments, policies, whatever you have in your estate. We then send out the information in good faith and we get the claims documents back. And what we're seeing is that the documents are either forged, the documents are either fabricated, or they are legitimate, but they were intercepted. So then they did the business even compromise at the executor. The power of attorney. It's ludicrous. So then we follow a verification process. Sometimes there's negligence, but mostly we really do whatever we can to verify this information, and then we pay out a claim to the incorrect party. And then the real beneficiary comes to us, and we have to stand in and do good, because now we've paid to the wrong one. Just to give you some idea, is in our business, 5 businesses have been targeted, and 6 financial companies. I'm almost done. So again, this follows the same thing, the impersonation, the business email compromise, all of these type of things, and the enablers of that. But the actors involved in these ones, we're seeing it to a more actually organized level than we do in murder for money. And they really are finding this as a very lucrative business. And for me, it is one of those things, you want to die with dignity. You want to make sure that you live in a country where you know that, I've worked my whole life for leaving these to my beneficiaries. And as I say, we as an industry is doing everything we can. So in terms of how you need to look at it, you cannot audit, investigate anymore without understanding IT controls, how business email compromise works. You have to work with data analytics. You have to have multiple disciplinary teams. You can't just have a lawyer on the team. No offense to my lawyer colleagues. You need to have a digital expert. You need an accountant. You need an investigation specialist. You need a legal specialist. Only if we work together with common goals on projects, we're going to make a difference. You have to have advanced tools, and we have to share information. In a legal way, we need to make sure that we share information, because they don't see the one industry different to the other industry. And I must acknowledge that public-private partnerships is really picking up in terms of our working together with the public sector, and it's really very valuable. So just in terms of my closing thoughts, The fraud landscape is evolving and it's increasingly complex. But industry-led initiatives are taking traction. We are doing a lot to do that. And like I said, public-private partnerships and prosecution-led investigations is the future. We cannot work as a private industry without taking hands with our public comments. So I thought, let me just close off with something positive. Again, this is the Global Organized Crime Index that I refer to, which now rates financial crimes as the top crime in the world. We have increased in resilience. And it's interesting the factors that they take into account to say what makes a country resilient. And South Africa continues to be the most resilient country on the African continent. With that, I'm going to close and say thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Helen. I must also commend our speakers. Your time management is brilliant. I can see that you come from an auditing financial background. So wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, we will now open the floor for questions. We will again take 10 minutes for questions. So if we can have hands, we already have one hand. We have another hand, and let's see if we have a third hand, and we have a third hand. So, yes, Prof. So we have a question from Professor Sekhwadi off the floor. If we can take that question. Thanks, Prof. Sekhwadi.
I'll start with the thing that I'm not very knowledgeable about insurance fraud. But I'd like to know why is it possible that one can insure a person because a person and can't the law do something about that? Because I think that may in some of the situations. Thank you.
We do get that question a lot. And it is a difficult question because culturally, as well as privacy laws, doesn't always allow us to do that. We are putting in place at Unisa, which is our industry group, we've got 2 working groups working on that to see that we can change whatever needs to be changed so that that can be legalized. But at the moment, we are not allowed to. We can only advise you to have a financial advisor and give him a proxy, and they can show you all the information that is available, all the cover that you have. We can show you to different bureaus that you can go to see what cover you have. But as an insurance industry, we cannot share that information. That information can be shared with you, but you can't phone your insurance company directly. So that but we are acknowledging that, and we are working to change that so that you are informed when there is cover taken out on your life.
Thank you, Helen. Okay, shall we take some questions off the chat? No, not the chat, sorry, the online. Willem Seni, followed by Ellie, followed by Dr. Mtetwa. Thank you.
Good morning. Yeah, it's still good morning, or should I say good day, to everyone who's in this webinar. My name is Willem Tiane. I'm with the SABC News. I do specialist research for business and economics news. So one of the biggest challenges that we always report on are these insurance for matters or matters for insurance money. The biggest question that we've always been debating in the newsroom is whether or not there are sufficient mechanisms to ensure that each individual is able to check who insured me, where am I insured? Because you may be walking around with a price tag of R1 million or 2 million rand or whatever amount of money anyone has decided to insure you with, and they're counting down the days when they will take you out so that they could cash in. So a question is there sufficient mechanism put forth by the insurance industry to ensure that each individual can be able to check themselves what policies or what insurances are taken over their lives? Thanks.
Respond again.
Yes, please. Just emphasize what you
So
said.
I know this is quite topical, and we as the insurance industry feels as passionate about this, and we know that we should be doing more. Like I said, we are working with 2 working groups, one specifically on this at Unisa, and one specifically on murder for money, in terms of what recommendations and changes that we can make in terms of legislation, maybe like a central database, all of these type of things we are looking into in terms of possible solutions. But currently, like I said, you can definitely get access to this through your advisor. If you sign them a proxy and give them, the rights, they can see across all areas where there's insurance on your life. There's also companies like Astute or other companies that is available where you can actually log in and get information. And it would be great if we can partner with the media to create awareness around what solutions is around there for the people of South Africa. Thanks.
Thank you, Helen. So it seems that is one of the burning issues that we sit with in society. Ellie, you may unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you, Chair. Well, it seems like my question actually has been answered, because I was going to basically ask the same question. If shouldn't there be like some sort of central database where someone can just type in their ID number or whatever the case may be, and then it will just pop up and show you if you are insured here or there. But no, I understand that obviously we are still working on that, changes via the legislature, as well as awareness that needs to be made via the media, which I actually think that's a good idea. It's definitely going to make people more aware as to what they can do to check themselves. But one more thing that I would like to ask is, in terms of we're seeing a rise via funeral insurance fraud or murder for money. Is this something which has always been happening in terms of the numbers-wise, or is it rising now? Is this just the media and the attention on it? Is it because it's rising, or has it always been there? Thank you.
So murder for money has been as old as I think some of the other professions that we don't want to talk about. But there is a few enablers that we're seeing in the market. I think that there is a lot of more awareness around it, so that it has been happening, but there is more awareness around it, so that's definitely one factor. But what we are seeing is also the fact that that it is easier now to exploit people that are vulnerable, to take out insurance on them. Like I said, money mules. That's definitely also the people are poor, people are desperate. They will do anything for 1,000 rand. So once they, just to give you an example, we now have just investigated a recruitment scam via a very well-known social media platform, where they get the people and they promise them the jobs, and then the people provide all their personal information, their banking information and everything like that. So I've spoken about scams. Scams enable people to give away personal information that's needed to be documenting these application forms. How easy it is in South Africa to get a hitman is scary. So there's quite a lot of, I think it's a combination about enablers, about where we are with society post the pandemic, but also increased awareness in terms of these crimes and that that we need to do something desperately about it.
Thank you, Helen. We have 3 minutes left. Dr. Mtetwa, I'm going to ask you to pose your question. Please let's have questions and not comments so that we can take some questions off the chat, please. You can unmute Dr. Mtetwa.
Oh, thank you so much. Good day, everyone. So I'm Dr. Mtetwa. I actually conducted a PhD on insurance fraud. However, one area that I was not able to cover with my research that I see as a necessity now was the fact that why are insurance crimes commonly committed by women? Because if we look closely at the current crimes that are showcased in the media today, it's mostly women who are the perpetrators of this crime. So maybe my question would be, why are insurance crimes commonly committed by women? Thank you.
That's not my area of expertise. I think that the profiling that was done on Rosemary by the criminologist that was part of the trial is probably quite interesting reading. Yeah, that is not my area of expertise, in terms of that. And I do believe that it is definitely something that can be researched in more detail. I apologize, but I wouldn't venture to say something about that. Thanks.
Thank you, Helen. We have a question in the audience, please.
Good morning. My name is Edwin. I'm not sure. My name is Edwin Marwe from UCL. I just have one question. When it comes to, what role are the insurance company playing when it comes to vehicles that have been involved in a car accident? And then you would find that vehicle is back again in the market. I think some years back, or maybe 2 years back, there was, I'm not sure if that is the case, where insurance company were obliged to release that data of those cars that have been involved in a car accident. But it seems like with those car dealers that we have in South Africa, you would find that the vehicle was involved in a car accident, but all of a sudden you find that vehicle is again back in the market. What role are the insurance company playing in order to assist the citizen to prevent such fraud from taking place? Thank you.
So this is a general insurance question. Chetty, do you maybe know?
Yeah, so when it comes to vehicle accidents, so the vehicles at a stage, some vehicles can be repaired. So I guess your question revolves a lot around those vehicles that cannot be repaired and are treated as salvage, right? So the insurers then deregistered vehicles then sold to the auction houses. And I think that for me is where the problem takes place in terms of people they're buying these vehicles under auspices that they want to use those vehicles as parts and then put it back into circulation because once again about corruption taking place, all right? But there are certain vehicles that are classified as Code 4 vehicles. These vehicles, the insurers are not allowed to sell those vehicles. So these vehicles are actually destroyed so that they are taken out of circulation. And I think the challenge is in terms of, while those vehicles they're, let's say, destroyed, I think it's got a lot to do with the cloning of vehicles. And we see this phenomenon rising where people are actually stealing papers or vehicle registration and cloning vehicles, and I think that's where the challenge is. But I know, and you'll hear from Yuko later speaking about the efforts that the Insurance Crime Bureau was acting on behalf of the various insurers, putting certain processes in place to ensure that vehicles that are not to be on the road are removed from circulation. And I think this whole destruction process speaks to that. All right. So I think, like I said, the two key contributors to this, one would be corruption, and the other one is around the cloning of vehicles.
Thank you, Dr. Chetty. We have unfortunately reached the end of the Q&A session. If there are further questions, we're going to invite you, please pop them in the chat box and make sure that you direct them at Mrs. Helen Du Toit. So our third speaker, in the broad picture, really doesn't need much introduction. I think he has become such an infamous person, Captain Keshi Mabunda. Now, Captain Mabunda started his career with the South African Police Service in 2004 after he completed his training at the Pretoria West College. He was initially stationed at Ivory Park SAPS, where he gained experience in frontline policing and crime investigation, investigating various serious crimes, including murders, armed robberies, and domestic violence. I'm so glad you coupled domestic violence with serious crimes. Well done. Subsequently, he investigated property-related crimes in the Ekurhuleni North region, and in 2008, he was assigned to investigate trio crimes. In 2011, he joined the Gauteng Provincial Investigative Unit, specializing in high-profile cases, including truck hijackings. He was then promoted to the rank of sergeant, and his investigations included notable cases such as the Rosemary and Glorvu case, a convicted serial killer and a former police officer who was found guilty of murdering 6 people, including her partner and 5 relatives between 2012 and 2018. And her motive was money to collect the payouts for their life and funeral insurance. In 2010, he received the certificate for Best Detective. I'm not surprised. And in 2022, he was recognized as the top detective in Ekurhuleni and Gauteng. And in 2023, he was honored nationally and promoted to the rank of captain and assigned to investigate insurance-related murder cases nationally. Captain Mabunda, it is our distinct pleasure to welcome you to the floor. And as you are taking your seat, we just want to quickly play a short clip that has been circulating on social media. If I can just find it now.
An intelligence operation has led us to this point. It is believed that this police officer has allegedly killed over 6 people in different communities, and these are the people that she has insured through insurance claims and also accidental covers. From the information that we received earlier, it is believed that she has so far received a payout of over 10 million rand from the year of 2019. So from what we are receiving from the officers, every year from 2019, there has been someone that has been, killed in mysterious ways, and she has been benefiting from those claims, and she has been called another Rosemary, as you'd understand that we've had quite a similar case to this one. So we waited for her this morning at just closer to the station, as she was expected to return from leave and report to this particular police station, and now she has been apprehended, and the police have actually given her, told her about her charges. But let's bring in Brigadier Atlenda Mate to tell us more about this particular operation. Ma'am, thank you very much for your time. Perhaps you can give us just a background on how we actually got to this particular arrest.
Well, a very good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. There's a culmination of a lengthy investigation by Captain Keshi Mabunda. He was approached on the allegations that this particular police officer is involved in insurance-related murders. So we then roped in Captain Keshi Mabunda because of his expertise in solving similar cases. So he has been investigating this matter. He roped in insurance companies, various banks, and so on. He collected all information, analyzed it, and then we obtained a warrant of arrest. We are quite confident that we have a strong case. But from the SAPS's side, we are quite disappointed. As a police officer, you are entrusted with the responsibility of serving and protecting the people of this country. When a person such as a police officer then abuses powers conferred upon them, it's really it's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. We are here. We are sending out a stern warning to everyone, and we are stamping the authority of the state, saying we are also looking within. If anyone is found to be in the wrong, to be involved in criminal activities within the service, we will take the necessary action. So far, our investigation has revealed that she is at least linked to 6 murders. Some of these people were from disadvantaged backgrounds, destitute. Some of them were mentally challenged, some were disabled, and so on. And I believe that they were not...
Thanks very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, President Director. Viewers online as well, all protocols are observed. Unfortunately, I won't speak much about this one. It's still subject to care. I'm Captain Chetty Mabunda. I'm based at the Organized Crime Office in Pretoria. I've been set by the Divisional Commissioner of Detective and Forensics. I'm looking under her. Can you hear me? Testing. Okay, thank you very much. As I was saying, I'm now placed here at the head office under the General Ntumule, who's the head of Detective and Forensics. So the permission was asked from Prof. Manamera for me to come here and present. So the overview of I'll talk more about the investigation part of it. I'm not in the insurance industry, but the investigation part of it, that's why I get involved. So I'll start with the introduction. Yeah, the introduction is it's whereby someone kills one another in order to benefit from insurance payout. And through the investigation, we have seen this trend, and we can see that it's now prevalent. So I started to be involved in this investigation in 2015, where Rosemary's boyfriend was found murdered with about plus or minus 87 stab wounds. So you can see that person, he wanted to make sure that person is dead. So I won't be able to just shoot straight. I'll come on hints or identification of crime scenes of these crimes. So the way these offenses are committed are raise alarms. Today the person is fine, the following morning you find that the person is dead. No signs of sickness or nothing. Sometimes they find the hitman, sometimes they poison them, it differs. So you find, so when you get that disease, you find that this person, that disease, for that person to be easily identifiable, you find that in their possession, they're having their personal details, like their IDs, driver's license, whatever, for them to be easily identified. So, because if ever you don't find those things, like the IDs, I mean that person might be buried the pauper, or a lot of investigation has to be done to determine who's that particular person. Most of the crime scenes are staged. The disease must have been killed somewhere and brought to the secondary scene. As I alluded, that this person has been killed somewhere, so they've been to be taken from that place and put a place where they'll be easily seen by the community. So it is very much important as investigators to visit the scene of crime to determine such thing, whether the scene has been staged or not. Furthermore, the perpetrator, and in those cases, I'll talk more about those means, they tend to have good relationship with the investigating officer. And that they have to be careful because it's going to blindfold you, you will sway away the investigation. So we need to be very careful upon that aspect. I'll come to policies. This have been taught by the Insurance Crime Bureau, because I was working closely with them about to analyze the policies. So those policies, you check the inception dates of the policies prior to the commission of an offense. It's very near. They're just waiting for a 6-month cooling period for the. Then from there they take the person. It differs on the kind of policy, because on some extension covers, there's no waiting period. They insure it today, tomorrow you're dead, and that's like that. So the perpetrator in that aspect is submitted claims on different times, because with the good relationship that they're having with the IOs, first those come with the funeral policies to bury that particular person. So you won't even see, because they've got a good relationship with you. They'll tell you that no one's going to help you with investigation. They'll even come with some alibis, so that you don't have to get to know what actually transpired. So we need to be careful. We have to be careful upon that aspect. Then, why do perpetrators commit this crime? Greediness. They do not care what happens to their victims, as long as they get what they want, which is money. As we know that money is the root cause of all evils. So this is what they do, these perpetrators. Are these crimes psychologically motivated? Yes, it's true. Because there is a psychological element to it with regards to the fact that most of the victims are relatives to them. In other words, there is an emotional bond between the perpetrator and the victim. The fact that it was not a deterrence for the perpetrator to murder them says a lot about the perpetrator's attitude or greediness. I'm very quick now. Relationship between the SAPS and the insurance industry. Presently, truth be told, we have got a very good relationship with the industry. We now are trying to go to other provinces whereby we establish task teams, because investigating these cases you find out at this particular police station somewhere there is not easy. So we want to bring the people together to establish a task team within the particular province. Then, so that whenever the case is reported, that team will be able to share as to what happened to the crime scene. Because sharing of information is very much important from the investigators and as well as the insurance industry. We also robbed the insurance industry to, when we establish a task team, to come with us to educate us as investigators. What are we supposed, from the policies, what can we pick up that this something might have happened to our disease? Reason why it takes time to identify these crimes. Sharing of information. As investigators, we're not talking about our cases like before. We used to have a parades every day in the morning. Then we discuss to find out we got about 20 cases. So we used to share. My case happened like this and this and this and this. It's not happening anymore. And I think we have to go back to basics. We share our cases. Not only this insurance murder for man cases, but any other case. Sharing of information is very much important within the investigators. Insurance industry should also have, I know that there's Insurance Crime Bureau, but there are some companies that are not affiliated with Insurance Crime Bureau. I think they must come to board as well to share the information. Because to get this, it's not easy, this information, like to find that this person has been insured by these companies. You only get it through media, like in some cases where I'm investigating. Now they say, oh, this particular person is claiming. Now they come forward with the information, which if ever we share information prior to the commission, when the commission of these offences will be able to win this battle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain Mabunda. You are indeed a man of few words. I feel sorry for the criminal who you have to tackle because you don't talk, you work. Thank you very, very much for your briefing. Thank you very much for your service. Thank you very much for your dedication. Thank you very much for standing up for those who are unable to stand up for themselves and for getting justice for them. We salute you and we applaud you. Thank you very much. We want to invite questions from the online attendees. We just want to remind you, please do not ask Captain Mabunda questions about ongoing cases, which will be sub judice, and he cannot speak about them. And yes, keep your questions short so that we can see how many people we can fit in. The first person is Bontle, then Bukalwa, and then Waku. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. My question is, why do insurance companies, particularly those operating within banking sector, permit policyholders to insure others using only their date of birth without requiring identification documents? Doesn't this pose significant risk of fraud, misinterpretation, or identity theft?
Thanks very much for that question, but I don't think I'm in a good space to answer for that kind of question. The insurance personnel are the ones supposed to answer it. I think Mrs. Helen Du Toit will come forward and answer you.
Yeah, I agree. It is something that the industry needs to work on. It again talks to that financial inclusion where they want to make it easy to do business in terms of that. So it's not a regulatory requirement currently. It's only a regulatory requirement for certain larger policies. So it is a regulatory requirement, but it's not for the smaller policies because again they want to drive financial inclusion. So it's the balance between making it available to lots of people. You know, just practically you want to add your child as a beneficiary and all of those things. You know, you don't always have that information. But I do take your point that we are, that's also one of the things we are looking at, making it, but then we get feedback from the regulators and everybody again to say you need to drive financial inclusion. And we do not want to make it more complicated to onboard the process because then we're dropping in terms of, so financial integrity versus financial inclusion is a balancing act for the insurance industry. Yeah, and we're not doing that well when it comes to this. We are working on it. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Bukalwa. Bukalwa, you can unmute yourself and pose your question. Okay, we're going to go over to Mwaku.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I don't know if I'm audible.
Yes,
Captain, I just want to ask, on your investigation or on your unit, do you only concentrate on the fraudster or do you also investigate the murder? or do you have anybody who's investigating the matter on the other unit, then you concentrate only on the person who's claiming? Because if you check most of these cases, there is someone who's orchestrating the matter, and then the matter occurs, which is a case on itself. Then there is a person who put this person as what do you call it? I forgot the words, but then the person who's finally arrested as a fraudster. Do you have a unit who's investigating the matter, and then you only investigate the fraud, or you do both? Thank you.
Thanks very much for that question. You don't separate this crime. If you want to investigate fraud only, you won't be able to get the root cause of that particular offense. So both fraud and murder are being investigated together. Like in Rosemary case, the way I did it, I saw it when I sat down with the insurance company personnel. Say that's why it took us about 4 years to arrest her, because we're very much careful on dealing with that aspect. And they were concentrating more on murder. I said on fraud case. I said no. We only have to get the root cause of this. Found that this person shouldn't have died, provided this person didn't took out policies. So I investigate both murder and fraud.
Thank you. Gladstone.
Thanks for the time. We are in the fourth industrial revolution, where artificial intelligence serves as both a tool for attacking and detecting fraud. Fraudsters are using artificial intelligence to impersonate legitimate claimants, creating convincing illusion of ethnicity or originality. So my question to Mr. Mabunda is that SA police have the capacity to investigate those crimes, because most of the time it is difficult to find the fraudster being arrested, or even know their jurisdiction, especially those international ones or outside South Africa. Thank you for the time.
Thanks very much. Always difficult question to answer. Yes, we rope in different people, different industries to help with such investigation. Like in insurance cases, if I can mention one. They are the one who are bringing up the information to me. They teach me this and this and this. So I analyze them, whatever they give it to me. So in a nutshell, what I can tell you that if ever it needs an accountant in that cases, we'll bring in an accountant. We do have accountants within the services. We do have a specialist to help us to investigate such crimes.
Can we have the next question from the audience, virtual audience, please? Vele?
Hi, mine is not a question, but perhaps if I could get the contacts of the organizers so that we can move forward in terms of more partnership in terms of awareness and to inform the public what exactly is being done by the insurance industry to cap this kind of crime that seems to be getting out of control. Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Certainly we will arrange that on the chat. Okay, so you have already been sent the contact particulars. It seems our one colleague is very insightful. Okay, our next question, Ellie.
Thank you, Chair. To Captain Mabunda, firstly, I just want to say well done on your job. It's something to really congratulate. But also, my question to you is, we've obviously taken notice in the media it's been brought to our attention how your colleagues, the two individuals whom unfortunately happen to be the perpetrators in this case, how do you, in your take, number one, do you do internal investigations as well, not just the murders or what you receive from the claims, but do you ever look into your units as well, just to investigate if any one of them isn't also taken that we've noticed that, you know, the police are also involved. So number two is we've also taken notes that there is syndicates that are solely focused on fraud, insurance fraud. So are you also aware, and are you also investigating those as well? Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'll talk more about the investigation within our industry, which is SAPS. What we has established is just that we have got the rock officials, whereby you find that the person has been killed. Now they put claims, so they ask the industry how much this person would be paid with. Not that they want to investigate such a case, but they want to charge that particular, they want to extort money from the claimant. That I know that on the particular claim you're going to get 1 million, give me 20%, unless I'm not going to sign. So we identify such aspect. So that is the reason why each and every province, we establish the task team to investigate such particular crime. Thanks.
Okay, Ellie, I'm going to prevent Captain Mabunda from answering your second question so that we can give the others opportunity. Rendani. Rendani can't unmute. Okay, it seems Rendani has dropped their hand. Can we have Matsidiso, if we can unmute Matsidiso? Rendani, I'm not sure if that's a lady because ladies tend to change their minds. Rendani is back. Okay, Matsidiso, you may unmute yourself. Okay, Matsidiso, are you unable to unmute yourself, please, and ask your question?
It's Rendani here.
Rendani, go for it.
Okay. No, I mean, I'm from the insurance background, so we more on administration. But over the years, we've been seeing a trend of businesses such as funeral parlor, who are owned by doctors that will also be practicing in public hospital, similar public hospital that they would be having clients who they then become beneficiary as service providers. And when we question that, we're told about separation of professions. And for me, I've found that we're picking up more questionable cases. I'm not sure if Captain Mabunda has already seen such cases coming up in the space, because some of these claims do not only start only with a person taking a cover, but it also starts with the Home Affairs officials, the funeral parlors, and we're only seeing one perpetrator being arrested, but we're not seeing a chain of these people that take party into this into this thing to manifest to get before it gets to a claim. There is a fraudulent claim. Fraudulent obtained death certificate. Of course, there is questionable death that had occurred because there is somebody who has an interest. So it's like it's a chain of people plotting into making this crime. So it's now more of an organized crime. I don't know if Captain Mabunda is seeing this thing happening. Thank you.
Enda, thank you very much. What I've seen or what I've noticed, when you put a claim, say, for instance, with an ABSA Life, then ABSA took that claim or request to Insurance Crime Bureau. What they concentrate most is whether they want to decline the claim or not. Because they find that they managed to get this particular claim is fraudulent, whereby they could say this doctor doesn't, maybe whatever they got, the PIC, the way they completed it, it doesn't make sense. So they didn't give this information to the police, because immediately they found out that there's wrong information upon that particular claim. They must come to police, open a case so it can be investigated. But the only reason interested that we cannot pay because of 1, 2, 3. So they are not coming to our department so that we can investigate further. So this should be rectified.
Indeed. Matsidiso, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. This is Matsidiso here. My question is slightly different. I hope Captain Mabunda can answer this. I'm a Unisa student studying Bachelor of Arts in Criminology. So I want to know if it's possible for me to do practicals, to go to the nearest police station and ask to do practicals. That's all.
I'm not sure about this. I have to ask.
Just to clarify, Matsidiso, do you want to do articles in the police?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we do not do, or the SAPS does not do articles like an auditor or a lawyer would. But if you are interested in learnerships or increasing your practical experience, then we would recommend that you join as a reservist and gain experience that way.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Do we have additional questions, additional hands from our online audience? Okay, so we have questions on the chat box. Can we quickly take a question from the chat box?
Thank you, Program Director. We have a question from Sekha. She seeks knowledge from our experienced presenters. She says, as a newly graduated forensic science student interested in investigating insurance crimes, what steps would you recommend I take to develop my skills and experience in this field, and what specific areas should I focus on to become an effective investigator, especially in complex cases like insurance fraud and related crimes?
Thanks very much. I think it's like the previous question, which at SAPS only do volunteers, and volunteers are not being placed at a detective unit. So I think you have to go to the different companies to gain experience.
Thank you so much. We have a question from the audience, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mabunda. My question is, how equipped are the subs when it comes to? I mean, we live in a digital market, digital environment nowadays, where you would find that maybe you are in a mall and then somebody uses these devices where they would tap your card without your knowledge. For as long as that amount is less than 500 Rand, somebody is able to then tap that devices into your card. I mean, 2 meters away from you, they are able to tap that, and then money is gone. So what are the subs equipped enough to deal with such cases? Because now, first of all, it should be a criminal, according to me, it should be a criminal inquest, because now, but then the problem is, when it comes to criminal charges, because I wouldn't know who had done that. You'll find that the money is tapped out of my card, I go to subs. Will they be able to assist me in opening a case and then also to do further investigation on that? Because it seems like that is something that is prevalent in our days. Thanks.
Thanks very much. As detective, unfortunately, we are reactive. We are not proactive. Only the visible policing, we are doing crime prevention. So for us to be involved in such particular matter, there must be a case open, then we follow it up.
Thank you so much. I think the person that posed the question, you pose an important question, and I think that's where education also comes in. If you walk past a yard every day and the dog bites you, surely you take preventative action. So I think we need to, as individual members of society, also educate ourselves and make it more difficult for the criminals to skim our cards and to steal our money. We have 2 minutes left. Unless we have a pressing question. Johan, is there a question in the chat box? Okay, so then we'll take the last question in the chat box, please.
Ntombi Zodwa, she says, I work for the Department of Home Affairs as an investigator for death cases. You will find that a death was registered and after several years the person is declared alive or the person is dead for the second time. I would like to find out if Captain Mabunda receives such cases from the insurance companies.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. It is true. So it is the duty of that Home Affairs personnel to open a case with us, so that we can proceed with the investigation. Yes, it happens more even in insurances. Dr. Chetty knows about it. Even Ms. Helen Du Toit found that a person said he's been killed, only to find he's still alive. So yeah, it's happening. So let it brought to our attention. We'll investigate further to get the person who did it, then we'll be brought to book.
Okay, thank you so much. I think poor Captain Mabunda has been answering so many questions. I see him sit sweating profusely. Yeah, I don't think you've had a more difficult day in court. Captain Mabunda, once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your commitment. And you know what? Thank you for your integrity and your honesty. We need more cops of your caliber. Thank you also to extend our thanks to your commanders for permitting you to come and to share with us your valuable time. Thank you so much. Okay, so last but not least indeed, our last presenter will be a virtual presenter. Mr. Higu. Higu was in the SAPS for nearly 25 years and then joined Outsurance for 8 years as a senior manager. He was then instrumental in the formation of the South African Insurance Crime Bureau, where he currently serves as Chief Operations Officer. So the Insurance Crime Bureau is still the only entity mandated by the short-term insurance industry to enable collaboration and facilitation in addressing organized crime and fraud prevention. The Insurance Crime Bureau is playing a nodal role for the financial industry and government in South Africa, and they have entered its 17th year of successive operations and also successful operations. They've grown a reputation in size and in the financial industry so that they are now a formidable organization fighting syndicated and organized insurance fraud and crime. Higu, are you there?
Good afternoon. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. You may start your presentation and you will prompt me to change slides.
Thank you. I will do so. Program Director, what an honored to be part and parcel of this event. Really do appreciate it, and that we can tell you what the insurance crime are doing in South Africa. And I think most importantly to say at this stage is that we need to do something to make South Africa a safer place. And that's one of the roles, or the biggest role, that the Insurance Crime Bureau play in South Africa. It was good to see Captain Mabunda as well. A lot of our staff are working with him. But to start off, who are we and what are we doing? So in the year of 2008, we started off with this organization, and we have decided to have improved two-pronged approach fighting organized crime with impacting the short-term, but not only the short-term industry, but also the life industry. So at that time, we have said that we will do analysis of big data, and we will also investigate organized crime to assist the industry, but also the South Africa at large. So we were established to be a hub and leading authority against organized crime, operating within the insurance industry, but as rightfully mentioned, we have grown to be a nodal point within our in South Africa. Now our mission is quite wide, but the end of this is that we need to obtain convictions and have recoveries. And by doing that, we need to have very good IT platforms, very good network systems that can find organized crime networks within our data, but we need the correct type of people, investigators that knows their business. And fortunately for us, we've got very, very good investigators that's playing in this field and fighting these organized criminals. The other thing as well is we always say that we're speaking about fraud in the industry and related crimes. I can assure you that most of our crimes that we are involved with are actually violent crimes that we are attending to. If you sit where you sit today, look around you, everything that you see are insured. And a lot of the things that you can't see are also insured in South Africa. So people are doing organized crime to attack the industry or the economy of South Africa. So if we speak, and one of the questions that was posed to me, you can go to the next page, please, ma'am. Who are the people that are our members in South Africa? So we've got 37 insurance companies that are members of the Insurance Crime Bureau, and you will see all the big names there. So Dr. Chetty and Helen, that's coming from the Santam store and Sanlam, you will see the names here. But all the other bigger companies are also involved. You can go to the next page, please. You see that all the others are there as well. So at this stage, you need to be an insurance license holder to be an associate member. But you will also see that we started off with associate members, which is companies like the microdotting companies, the salvage companies, and the automatic number plate recognition companies that are out there. Those are companies that are willing to work with the Insurance Crime Bureau, to put their money where their mouths are, to fight organized crime within our industry. And go to the next page, please. One of the biggest things for us is the data that we are carrying at the Insurance Crime Bureau. And we at this stage sit with 36 data sets which we utilize to mine the data through our platforms and through our analysts. It's so important that we must be able to take the data, to change it into information, to take the information, to change it into intelligence. But at the end of the day, if you cannot change this intelligence into evidence that you can take to court, you will never succeed in the fight against crime. So if you see this list of key stakeholders here, This is not a brag list. This is actual people and organizations that we are fighting with together every day to make a difference in South Africa. And if you take the list there, the asset forfeiture unit of the NPA, we've got an MOU in place and we work closely together. The credit bureaus, we've got MOUs with cross-border police forces as well. You see the name of the DPCI, the Hawks there. We cannot work without each other. We are involved from the industry side on projects and operations with the DPCI, with the police, with the Financial Intelligence Center. If you take the Gauteng Department of Roads and Transport, the Insurance Crime Bureau has got 36 licenses to work on natives. Why? Because they allow us to do their investigations with them. Same with the Road Traffic Management Corporation. We are allowed to work with them to fight organized crime and corruption that starts from within. And that is why we can do inspections and audits on the staff of the Department of Transport of South Africa. Very important to see the name of the South African Banking Risk Insurance Council as well. And then all the salvage dealers and the South African Fraud Prevention Services. This list can go on forever. I can tell you that we cannot work in silos anymore. We need to stand together to make a change, to make South Africa a safer place for your and my children and our grandchildren. We cannot allow corruption and crime to continue as it's going on at this stage. Our CEO, Garth de Klerk, normally mentioned all the statistics of the murders, etc. It's a bleak picture, but we need to work together. And if you take the names on this list and the MOUs in place with all of these companies, you can see the name of the Special Investigation Unit of our President, Mr. Ramaphosa. Every single investigation that are coming out of that unit are being dealt with in conjunction with us. And we cannot do that without each other. The South African Police Service at this stage send at least 100 inquiries a day to our office to work together to fight organized crime in South Africa. Next page, please, ma'am. Next one as well, and I'm gonna. You know what? I cannot do a presentation of this nature within half an hour, and I'm gonna be as fast as possible. If you can, I don't know why that one is empty now, but there's it coming now. So if we speak about organized fraud and organized or syndicated fraud or criminal enterprises, one of the things that's actually just growing at this stage in South Africa is hijacking of vehicles, and people are getting killed for their vehicles. But the sad thing at this stage nowadays is not only the vehicle hijacking anymore. They kidnap you, they keep you hostage, they will deplete your bank accounts, they will do further loans on your bank because of the apps on your phone. Please do not keep any of your PIN codes on your phone as well. So, and then at the end of the day, they will actually call the family to ask for a ransom as well. So the car is the instrument to get more money from your bank as well as from ransom money from your family. I don't know if you know what is blue light gangs, but that is people that are following you, will follow you and actually pull you off, and then they will hijack and kidnap you as well. Dr. Jerry has mentioned about the cloned vehicles. Cloned vehicles are vehicles that are stolen, and other vehicles, unique identifiers as the VIN and the engine number will be cloned onto these vehicles, or they will make use of stolen registration documents, blank ones, as what we will call face value documents, and they will clone the vehicles on that document, the so-called paper vehicles. Another thing as well is the cloned is the vehicles that are being recovered and been taken into the SAPS pounds. It is a continuous fighting to get vehicles out of these pounds back to the people of South Africa. And we do not, and when we do operations in these pounds with the SAPS, we do not see if the vehicle is insured or not. Most of the vehicles that are standing on these pounds that we give back to the bakkie builders and the old people of South Africa that cannot afford insurance. Now, if we want to speak about syndicated crimes, we can go to the next page, please, and I'm first going to touch on life crime types, and you can carry on, please. And I think enough has been said about murder for money. But I can tell you that the Insurance Crime Bureau are playing a leading role with the insurance industry, with SAPS, in curbing this murder for money. And the questions was asked earlier about the Department of Home Affairs, the funeral estates, the funeral parlors, the doctors. We are looking collectively together with them that we can actually take out the whole crime syndicate. It was mentioned about paper children. SASSA is paying out such a lot of money on non-existing paper children. The same document that is being used to have cloned vehicles are being utilized to actually to register paper children. There's one case that we are busy with now, where one person has introduced 31 paper children, and every month he's getting that money from the Department from Treasury for the fact that he's got 31 children falsely being registered as paper children. Walking deaths, it has been mentioned. You know what, it's the only country that I know about that people die more than once. And it's actually shocking to see how people will just disappear and then start to live again and then die again. Now, somebody has mentioned the Department of Home Affairs. The Insurance Crime Bureau work closely together with the Department of Home Affairs. There's some noise at the back. The Department of Home Affairs, and we actually speak to the people of Department of Home Affairs. Is there a problem with the sound?
You were silent for a while. You were talking about Home Affairs.
Can you still hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Can I continue?
Please continue.
Okay, then I'm going to continue. Helen Du Toit also mentioned about the late estates. The states is a huge problem in that. There's something wrong with the sound now.
Hugo, the sound is fine on our side.
Program director, I'm getting.
Helen Du Toit, WhatsApp audio.
Yeah, so I get a repeat of all the words that I'm giving. I'm getting a repeat. I'll continue in any case. Thank you.
Please do.
Okay, so I'm going to continue. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry, but I'm getting a repeat of.
Yeah, but he's not hearing me. Higu, if you can hear me, log off and log on again.
Okay, I'm again trying to continue because I'm getting a repeat of all the sound coming back to.
Okay, if you can hear me, make sure that you are only connected on one device.
Okay, now. I'm going to.
Okay, 100%. Just make sure you're only connected on one device. Okay, sorry, let's try again. Okay, bye. He went off and he's rejoined again. Let's see if we can.
Okay, let's try again. I'm going to continue with the general crime types that we're involved in. And this is also not a brag list. We.
Shona or Shona.
We are definitely doing a lot more work than just working on the insurance industry crime types. We work a lot with FIC on money laundering, the tracing of illicit funding, and we all know that we are on the grey list. We all have to work together to get off the grey list. And we're working with external police divisions like the FBI on terrorism funding as well. There's quite a few external or international police organizations that's working in South Africa as well, and we are part and parcel of these to actually to curb terrorism funding and the tracing of illicit funding. Corruption stays a huge issue in South Africa. We always say that Mozambique is bad and Botswana is bad and all of this, but corruption is really an issue in South Africa, and we see that on a daily basis. For as little as 50 Rand, you can buy a document where you can actually register a child illegally. Kidnapping and is a huge problem, and I've mentioned that a bit earlier, but also human trafficking. The Insurance Crime Bureau is involved with quite a few human trafficking investigations and projects on a national level, and we need to be involved with that because we need to make our people safer in South Africa. Cybercrime, although we are not doing a lot at this stage on cybercrime, we are growing into that portfolio quite a lot. And then general intelligence. We provide general intelligence to the whole of the security cluster of South Africa on a daily basis. And we have to do that we can actually take the hand of government to make it stronger to fight organized crime in South Africa. Can you go to the next page, please? I'm gonna make use of one of two examples where we are really involved with huge criminal enterprises fighting the economy of South Africa. And I'm saying to you that they're fighting the economy because they are depleting the coffins of our country. And I'm going to start off with Project Matlahleni at the top there. We have taken in this one 72 bank accounts for many a year and 199 cell phone numbers, and we've taken the data and analyzed the data, and we are now standing with 301 individuals that are part and parcel of this criminal enterprise. Now, I'm saying that when I speak about we, it is we, the Insurance Crime Bureau, the insurance industry, together with SAPS and some other role players. We stand together to investigate this. The next page, please, ma'am. The next one is very bad corruption as well. 158 NATO system users within the registration process were linked to the evidence that we are carrying on this investigation. 829 vehicles of interest will result in the recoveries through our investigation. Again, it's not a fact that we work on our own, but we work with the Department of Transport and the Road Traffic Management Corporation, as well as expert NATIS profilers within the Insurance Crime Bureau to make this work for us. If you can also go to the next page, please. Department of Home Affairs Counter-Corruption Unit. There's quite a lot of work that we do with the DHA. We are close to sign an MOU with them. We need to work and to get rid of corrupt officials within the DHA as well. But as mentioned earlier by the DHA official that's online, we need to report these type of murders that you have mentioned, and where the person actually came alive again, to the police and to the Insurance Crime Bureau, that we can actually work collectively with the DHA to investigate these type of matters. And I think I can go on forever with this. The Insurance Crime Bureau is definitely at this stage a nodal role that we play within the bigger government departments, including the Road Accident Fund and many other departments with SARS, etc. So it is really, really important that we work together. And as Captain Mabunda has mentioned earlier, the more insurance companies that join the Insurance Crime Bureau, the better for the whole industry, but also the better for South Africa at the end of the day. Next page, please, ma'am. You can go to the last page, and I think I'm going to stop here. I don't want to bore you with a lot of further detail. I just want to say to you that we are now starting to hone into the vehicle asset finance organizations, companies out there, because the two on vehicle crime cannot stand alone. We need to work together to actually catch the money mules, to catch the organized crime bosses in South Africa, because every time people arrest criminals in possession of vehicles, etc., but we need to get to the big bosses in the crime world out there. So I'm happy to say that we are moving into the bigger financial industry to make it the pool of data and the pool of intelligence that we carry much bigger for South Africa. And I think that is me, and I thank you for your time. And if there's any questions, I can carry on for hours and forever on speaking about what the insurance industry are doing collectively with our industry. And I must also say thanks to the police for all the good work that they are doing with us. Thank you so much appreciated.
Higu, thank you very, very much for your presentation. We sincerely appreciate your insight, your wisdom, and it's clear that you speak from experience. Shall we then proceed to questions from the virtual platform, please? Okay, we have a question from the virtual platform. Tina, you may unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, there were no sound. I couldn't.
Higu, are you able?
Greetings to everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Voti. My surname is. My name is Voti. My surname is Pina.
Yes, we can hear you, Voti. Voti, are you able to hear me? We've lost Voti.
Can I continue?
Please do.
Thank you. My first question to Mr. Van Said is that I want to check, for an example, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you, Voti.
He mentioned that they work with road traffic management agency. Now, my question is, I'm currently based in the Western Cape. The last time I was in Gauteng province was in 2020.
Voti, are you still there?
Now, there's a fine that I received that is on my name. Yes, I'm still there. There's a fine that I received that is in Gauteng, that happened in Gauteng, with a different car, but the details that they use are my details, my personal details. And I'm the warrant on that, which I never because the different vehicles, I've never informed them. So how can we assist me in terms of what do I tell that to do? That is my question.
Hichu, are you able
The last question will be...
Okay, Voti, I'm going to pause you. Voti, I'm going to pause you there.
Which vehicles are most...
Voti, are you able to hear me? Hichu, are you able to hear me? Hichu, are you able to hear me? Can we just...
Yes.
Can we
yes,
just...
I can hear you.
Okay, Voti, we seem to
I can hear you.
Okay, Hichu, did you catch that question from Voti?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. We seem to be experiencing some technical issues with the sound. If we can just ask the people on the platform.
Yeah, so I have to rejoin now 3 times already. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Hichu. Okay, I'm going to ask all the people on the platform to pop your questions into the chat box for Hichu. We will make sure that Hichu receives your questions.
So I have heard the first question is going about a vehicle that he got.
Should let's look out connected. Yeah, on his side. Hichu, I think we're experiencing a network issue. We've lost Hichu. I'm going to ask all the people on the platform, please pop your questions into the chat box, and we will then ask Hichu to answer them, including those that are on the floor, please. So...
I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Hichu. Thank you.
I don't know if you can hear me still because I had to rejoin 5 times now.
Yeah, and counting. Higu, so they say to err is human, to really foul things up takes a computer. I think that's what we're dealing with today, the technical issues. Higu, we're going to arrange it. All the people that had questions, we'll put them in the chat box, and then we will forward them to you via email if that's okay. So then we just want to thank Higu van Zyl also for sharing insights with us, sharing his experience with us, and yes, bringing us closer to what they are doing. So we have reached the end of our presentation today, and if you would permit me a few moments just to wrap up. So our first speaker, Dr. Chetty, spoke about the interconnectedness of crimes and how the people, the policyholders, the brokers, the employees, the suppliers, anyone could be involved. He emphasized the issue of data hacking, and he also explained that investigating, and Captain Mabunda will agree, is not as sexy as you see on TV. You don't arrive at a crime scene and the evidence is there. You don't speak to a suspect and they break down and confess. It doesn't work that way. Helen then talked about insurance, where you would need to be protected against loss, and then the balancing act between financial inclusion and data verification. How far does one go? And the Papaya Act is there to protect us, but it's also hamstringing the organizations that need to share and verify data. She emphasized the money mules and how we know how poor society is. We know about the high level of unemployment and how the very vulnerable in our societies are being targeted to be money mules. How they are using social media platforms where youngsters apply for work and share their information, and their identity is actually being stolen. She talked about the actors and the enablers. She talked about generative AI, identity theft, the dark web. 10 years ago, some of these terms didn't even exist. Then she talked about the evolving landscape of fraud and what society accepts. And I think we need to each take a look at ourselves in the mirrors tonight, because we are society. If we are not part of the solution, we are part of the problem. So each one of us needs to take responsibility for our own environment. And when something happens, to talk about it. What is the cost? The financial cost and the human cost. Captain Mabunda came and talked to us about the human cost. Guys, money for murder. An interesting question. Is it that the majority are females that are committing these murders? Or are the men getting away with the crimes and not being found out? So that is a question that we have to seriously consider. The South African police cannot do anything on their own. They need society. They need industry to work together. If we do not go forward with the information and the evidence, they can do nothing. Higu van Zyl talked about information sharing. He talked about how insurance crime is evolving. And I get the idea of like insurance crime is almost like generative AI, where they learn from past mistakes and they actually improve on their systems. And I think Dr. Chetty spoke about that. How these people would study your system, how they would do and comply with what you expect. But they will also, okay, yeah, we make a mistake, then we move on to the next one. But a couple of themes between all the speakers. Interconnectedness, sharing of information. These criminals learn from each other. They share information. Why don't we? I think we know the answer to the why don't we. and I won't share my thoughts on that, but it's time also to pool our resources so that we can catch the big guys, because at this stage we're catching the poor and the vulnerable. The guy that gets caught with a proverbial smoking gun, but who gave him the smoking gun? And having said that, I think two big issues were raised. There's a need for learnerships. There's an incredible need for learnerships. And this is where industry needs to step up and be counted. Unisa is open to discussions of how learnerships can work. Our school director, our deanery can be approached to see how we can make learnerships available to our students who need experience. Guys, you don't wake up one morning and you're a detective. And it's not something that you can necessarily learn out of a textbook. You have to go and knock on doors and ask questions. And then number two, the slow uptake of pursuing these crimes. So the insurance company just declines the claim. Their job is done. And that fraudster moves on to the next victim. It's time we start saying no, no more. It's time we start saying yes, it matters. Those little crimes, it matters. Because if you look at the theory of evolution of crime, the little crime becomes the big crime, becomes the big crime. If you catch the guy for the little crime, you prevent the murder for money. Okay, thank you so much. We've reached almost the end of our presentation. I'm going to call up Professor Mabunda, who is the chair of department for the Department of Police Practice, who's going to hand over some gifts of gratitude before we proceed with the closing remarks. Professor Mabunda, thank you.
This slope is not nice. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much, Professor Benson and colleagues in the room. My name is Professor Angel Mabunda. My job is very short and sweet. On behalf of the Department of Police Practice and the Center for Lifelong Learning at Unisa, I'll be presenting the gift for our guest speakers. As a token of appreciation for the time that they've given to us to come here and share their expertise with us. I think I'm going to call them to come forward. Dr. Chetty, please. Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Chetty, thank you so much for flying all the way from Cape Town to come here and share your expertise with the academic community. With this frame, we are saying thank you so much, and you will remember us when you are in the office. Thank you so much. May I please also call Ms. Du Toit? Also coming from Cape Town, right? Yes, I flew all the way from Cape Town to the Unisa. Let me shake your hand first. Thank you so much. Please, with this frame, once again, we also like you to remember us, and we'll be remembering the knowledge that you have shared with us. Thank you so much. Captain Mabunda, I'm giving you a new name. Captain Mabunda. Also, thank you so much. I think when you are around Pretoria. But then what we appreciate is the fact that you have taken time from your busy schedule to come here and share with us your skills. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In absentia is Mr. Van Zyl. We do have your yes, we do have your certificate here, and then Professor Van Gaan will make sure that it gets to you in Cape Town. So here it is. I think it will also represent Unisa in your office, and also will remember the knowledge that you have shared with us. Thank you so much. Colleagues, thank you very much. I think back to you, Professor Benson.
Thank you, Professor Mabunda. And also on behalf of the team, thanks to Prof. Mabunda for her unwavering support and commitment to making sure that we have what we need and we are able to make today a reality. In closing, I'm going to invite Dr. Chivazi, the ED of the Academic Planning of Unisa, to please come and make a few remarks in closing. Thank you, Dr. Chivazi.
Colleagues, good afternoon. Colleagues, good afternoon. Oh yes, I was expecting a loud noise from our colleagues online, you know. And just bear with me, I'm recovering from a terrible flu. I think we can give ourselves a big hand for this successful event, colleagues. I'm saying it's successful because I tried to check participants online, and we had almost 1,000 participants online, which means this is one of the critical causes that we need to roll out as Unisa. And we also want to appreciate our partners in good service, not our partners in crime. Yeah? We really, really want to thank all the colleagues that have been in the program. We do appreciate, and we don't take this for granted. I also need to say, on behalf of the UCL, on behalf of the College of Law, Department of Criminal Justice, we also thank you very much for organizing this kind of a seminar wherein we deal with issues that are on the ground. You know, we were not dealing with theories here, and it is on this point that I really want to thank Dr. Chetty. You know, we listening to whatever you deal with on daily basis. I think for us it's an eye-opener, which also says we also need to empower our communities, including ourselves. Helen Du Toit, thank you so much. You know, and also critical, just not talking things in theory. You know, talking things that you are confronted with on daily basis, where you also highlighted to us evidence. And I was just also thinking when I was sitting there to say, maybe now Unisa we are developing what we call catalytic niche area. I'm not sure. Maybe this should also be really form part of the catalytic niche area. You know, Prof, it touches almost on all aspects of human life. You know, it touches on all aspects of human life. You know, it touches on life, on death. You know, it touches on everything. Hence, that's why I'm saying maybe it should be one of our catalytic niche area. Captain Mabunda, we really appreciate it. Your calmness and your spot on in terms of your response. You are a man of few words, but big action. We do appreciate. We really do appreciate. And yesterday I was telling my kids that I'm going to see Captain Mabunda tomorrow. They said, is he going to teach you about how to do, you know? And I said, no, we are going to listen to his story, you know. And of course, for us, this is a reality of learning, listening to somebody that has been in the situation. And we also wish you and your colleagues and everybody in the police service, really, because you are our critical stakeholders in getting this country right. We do appreciate that. And you go from the criminal bureau, quite also interesting. I think, colleagues, you have seen the areas that he touched on. Personal area, private spaces, personal possession, almost all this area. And one way or another, they are affected by the crime that we do experience, and which also denies us to enjoy the benefits of being a South African, the benefit of being the citizens of this country, just because of these other issues that come in. Colleagues, I really want to thank you for the facilitation of the program. You did it very well. That is why you can still see the full house here. We also appreciate our colleagues in the media, the connection via the online. You really helped us so much, because we will not have, these measures will not have reached the 1,000 people that are out there, So we don't really also take that for granted. We do appreciate that. And also, I think colleagues that are around here we're going to get lunch, Prof. Murodu, Prof. Mabusha, we're going to get lunch, I hope. Oh, okay. And it's not UCL, because UCL does not have money. It must be College of Law. Colleagues, once more, we want to thank you deep down from our heart, And Mr. Pura, we have seen that we can organize very, very successful seminars, webinars. And this must be the trend, Tomorrow I'll be in the Senate fighting, really, for us as UCL to say we can make a lot of difference in our communities. Yesterday I was in a meeting where we also want to, touch base with about 1,000 educators in Limpopo, where we are saying robotics is the future. We must not leave our teachers behind. So these kinds of activities really also dwells very well with our mission as a university of the land, university of the country. People should not see us as a white elephant at the top of the mountain, without then anyone in their lives referring to say, I've gone through Unisa, this is what has benefited me. So once more, colleagues, thank you very much and enjoy your lunch. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Doc. We appreciate it. We have come to the end of what has proven to be an very informative, educative, challenging, depressing, but also encouraging session, because when like-minded people come together, we can make magic happen. So I want to invite the like-minded people, join forces with Unisa, so that we can make sure that next year this time when we hold a follow-up webinar, we can report on a decrease in insurance-related fraud. Have a good day, people. Sign out. Can we have the speakers in the front here, please?